Looks so good.
Yeah, we were talking about Miami-Dade County. We saw Marco Rubio leading it in the Senate race. And you can see now the governor's race. This is the statewide number. DeSantis 7 points up on Crist. And we do have Miami-Dade for the governor's race. And look at that in, again, the mail/early vote portion, which is usually the most Democratic friendly. Ron DeSantis with an 8-point advantage over Charlie Crist in Miami-Dade County. Again, this is a county that was 30 points Democratic just in 2016. The other implication for this comes at the House level. Talking about battle for control of the House, there is a congressional seat in Miami-Dade that Democrats have been targeting. Maria Salazar, a freshman Democrat who was elected in a bit of a surprise in 2020. They've been targeting her, Democrats have. But again, with this strong Republican performance you're seeing in the votes in Miami-Dade so far, Salazar out to a double-digit advantage against her Democratic challenger. And also, just to update you as well, Anna Paulina Luna, the Trump loyalist running in the 13th district that Charlie Crist used to represent, has now pulled ahead. This, again, as the same-day vote is counted in Florida. So that would be if Luna is...
All right. Good night, everyone. Welcome to another Caribbean American News Network. We're happy to be here with you tonight, and we are monitoring the elections in the United States. And we also have a guest with us. We invite you to share the platform as we get ready to introduce our guest. Good night, everybody. Let's hoping that you had yourself a beautiful day. Yes. Once you're here with me, all is well. All right. Now, I have some breaking developments concerning the death of Cecilia Augustine from Labrie, who died in state custody there in St. Lucia. I'm way in advance of my investigations in that situation there, and there's a lot of developments. But I am waiting because it is there are a number of things that are there that I do not want to disclose at this time. But I just want to let you know that I am on it. Today I spent a few hours communicating back and forth with different agencies and also the U.S. Embassy in Barbados. All right. So just bear with us, and I will, as time goes by, I will share with you at the appropriate time some developments there. All right. Let me introduce to you our guest for tonight. Mr. Guy Joseph. All right. He's here with us tonight in Living Colors, and I want to welcome Mr. Joseph here. He's a member of the same faith, my religion, my church, Seventh-day Adventists, two Adventists talking to you here tonight. And many of you will say, why Adventist people in politics? Well, you got to ask the Bible, go back to Old Testament, and you will have a lot of questions to ask over there. So we are not new to being involved in social issues and issues that impact people, humanity. So I just want you to know that. But we want to welcome all to the platform. I see my YouTube viewers are coming in, and our Facebook folks are joining us at this time. The race in Georgia for the Senate looks promising. Mr. Warnock is at 60.1%, Republican at 38, Walker 38.5%, and Oliver, that's me, Independent 1.48%. So they look in Georgia. That for the Senate race, it looks promising there. And we have a surprisingly tight race over in Florida. The Marco Rubio race, it is very tight. I just missed it, but Marco Rubio, well, it just changed just a few minutes ago with 40% in. Marco Rubio is at 52.5%, and his challenger, Republican, 46, or Democrat, 48 or so percent. There is a projected winner for Indiana Senate race, and that is for goes to Republican Todd Young. That is projected winner there in Indiana with 10% in. So that's a projection from MSNBC. All right, so that's for the Senate there in Indiana, and Young is at 60.6%. And his Republican and his Democratic challenger is at 36.1%. So you know that's a Republican seat, and it is what it is. Virginia is looking even good there. Virginia, there's a big lead of 60%, but we'll get into it as we go along. Let's go over to Mr. Guy Joseph as we discuss St. Lucian business. Amen. By the way, Rand Paul is projected to win in Kentucky with 54.8%. His challenger Booker of the Democratic Party, 45.1%, with 8% of votes in. All right, but it seems to be very interesting. And in New Hampshire, 59.2% Democrat. Republican 39.6% with 1% in, and you're looking at early voters, which normally favor, I believe, if I memory serve me well, the Democrats. So we have a projected winner in South Carolina. Tim Scott won his seat with 1% in. That was expected. It is not a game. He just, he held on to his seat. It's not a game. The Republicans need one more seat to take control of the Senate here in the United States. All right. So we have a winner there, Tom Scott out of Carolina, and I would say that things are looking a little nice for the Republicans, the Democrats so far. But normally in this midterm elections, you will normally have the Republican taking over leadership. But right now you have in the Senate. Right now you have 36 senators, and on the Democratic side you have 29 on the Republican side. So, Mr. Joseph, I just wanted to, catch up with our folks there. But thank you again for being here with us, former Minister of Government there in St. Lucia. Welcome, Mr. Joseph.
Thank you very much, Pastor Oliver, for having me. I suspect I'm getting an echo, but I will try and get that rectified.
I will fix it from my end, yeah. Okay. Can you hear the echo still?
You'll fix it from here. No, I'm not hearing it now. Yes, I think it's good now.
Okay, good. That was from me, yes. Okay, good.
Okay, good. So let me say a special good night to all your listeners and viewers, especially those following back in St. Lucia and those in the diaspora who very much interested and active in terms of what is happening in St. Lucia. I guess the election fever is very hot in the US. Everywhere I pass today, I saw the signs and the banners and the different places that people were directed to vote at the various schools and public buildings. So, um, and I did follow a little bit of what was happening. It looks like I I believe that the swing is looking more in favor of the Republicans than the Democrats in terms of controlling both the Senate and the House. So I I guess we will have to wait and see what the final results are. Given what had happened in 2020, when we saw results being challenged, I guess that laid some platform or basis for other persons to query the result of elections, even in the United States. So it will be interesting to see what happens, but it is something that I'm anticipating that it will go in favor of the Republicans. Not that I have a leaning towards the Republicans, but I'm just saying that it looks very much like it will favor them. And this looks like a platform for the re-emergence of former President Donald Trump. If the Democrats, if the Republicans come out forcefully. But we'll see what happens.
Your audio is going in and out. Let me just interrupt you. It's going in and out. So I suspect that the device is the mic is being blocked or something. I'm not sure. But we're getting it fixed. Hold on, Reverend. Thank you. Just bear with us. We get our system up and running. It's a busy night. Thank you for staying with us. Continue to share the platform as you come in. All right, Mr. Joseph. Yep. All right, so bear with us, folks. Just bear with us. All right, so we are back with Mr. Joseph.
Are you getting me loud and clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, sir. So let's thank you again for being here with us. Thank you for taking your time. I know you spend a lot of time in government, and maybe you're enjoying your rest. And I always hear you say one thing from the time I met you in Queens. You always say, "Give the people time. Let the people. They're in power. You don't want to get in their way. You want to give them the opportunity to lead." But I looked after the program last night. I went through Facebook, and from your community, there was a massive flood there. And the folks were calling for Mr. Guy Joseph. And
Yes.
somebody said, well, you voted for the other party and now you're calling for Mr. Joseph. Call Joachim, call him, not Guy Joseph. So something is happening there, and people, you left your mark in the community. And there's no doubt
Because
about it.
my representation, I always saw it as being more personal than just being a government minister. I went beyond what normal, everyday ministers of government would do. I got involved at a level where I always wanted to be the people's representative. It was not government that I wanted to be in. I wanted to be with the people. I wanted to engage and to give representation that I have not seen before, because over the years I have been close to the politics from the days of Sir John, and then when Dr. Anthony came on the scene. I have been involved with both political parties in St. Lucia. I have had a fair assessment, and on all counts, what I saw as a representation was questionable to me, in that it was too difficult to get to see government ministers. The people became secondary once people were elected into office. And I am sure that the people of Castries Southeast can say that I made myself accessible to them as much as possible. Everybody would tell you that I've stayed in my constituency office up to 10 o'clock in the night, if that's what it took to see everybody. And at my ministry, when I was a government minister, I paid more attention to the people than I did to the things of everyday government meetings and all of that. So I had to balance off my work and getting my ministry's work done, but at the same time I never turned away people who came to see me. There was never a time I would send the secretary outside and say to the people, I cannot see you. If I was busy and people came in, and I would not give people appointments because it was so difficult to keep appointments uh, because of the number of people that were coming in. So I would just go, if it's 3-4 hours, see everybody. And if something came up and I could not see the people who were there, I would go outside myself and I would interact with them and say, hey, can you give the secretary your basic information? I will call you or I will make a follow-up arrangement to see you. That is what I believe representation was all about. Not that ministers would go and use back doors and they go around in vehicles that people cannot identify them and they hide away from the people after the people have voted for them. My representation was with the people. I used to attend 3 funerals in one day. There was a month when I attended over 20 funerals in the constituency in a single month. And I was available. I would go to church every single Saturday, wherever I was in the world. Could you believe that I was in Bali, in Indonesia, and I found an Adventist church that was English speaking to attend? I was in Taiwan and I found a church to attend. Wherever I have been. So my time in the constituency, so my identity with the people while they were being affected by the floods, by hurricanes, by bad weather conditions, was just part of what I always wanted it to be when other people represented the constituency. So I did the things that I thought was necessary if you want to identify with people and you want to represent them adequately.
All right, thank you, Mr. Joseph. So okay, so we just got some interruption there. So please bear with us, folks. Yeah, the sound was being muffled again. I am not sure why.
Because I'm using the phone, so I guess when messages come in or something happens, then
Right, right. It goes in and out. So I'm watching the
yeah.
response online, and the folks are saying, "Yes, we're going." They're angry with me. They want us to get our song our song set up. So bear with us, folks. We will get it rectified. I know that you love your
I
guy,
have
the
them
right
trying.
guy. We will get it.
I have them trying a different computer there for me. So if we
Okay,
do
good,
get
good,
on,
good.
I will let you know.
So we're going to try to work with the Mr. Joseph is going to be on the phone, but he's going to be trying to connect a new device. So just bear with us. So we will continue to try to get through the audio at this time, and then we will switch. So just bear with us. But we're here tonight with you, the people of St. Lucia. Have no fear. The enemy cannot disturb this program tonight. All right? All right. So just bear with us.
Some people have been asking me for the link. I don't have the link to send to them.
Okay. So what we will do to get ourselves set up better, I'm going to send you a new link so that you can connect. your assistants, I'm not going to tell them who that is, will try to connect with the other laptop. All right? Okay, folks, so just bear with us. We go over to some political news then in the United States, and then we will be back with Mr. Guy. We will give you better audio.
To get control. So you're looking at here a list of congressional districts. These are the congressional districts that are held by Democrats right now, but that were carried by Donald Trump in 2020. And you'll note that 3 of them are in Florida. And all 3 of these districts were redrawn by this remap in Florida that Ron DeSantis pushed through for the purpose of flipping Democratic seats and getting Republicans toward a majority. So let's check in on those 3 districts. The 4th district, the Republicans with more than 70% in, nearly a 20-point lead for their candidate. The 7th district, this was Stephanie Murphy used to represent this, 2/3 of the vote in, the Republicans with a double-digit lead. We told you about Anna Paulina Luna in St. Petersburg area. Now she has opened up as the same-day vote comes in, a 7-point advantage. All 3 of these, if they hold, would be flips. They would be Republican gains in the House. There is also a new district that Florida got because of the census. They got a new seat, and again, the new district was drawn with the idea of getting a Republican elected to that new seat. And again, with about 3/4 of the vote in, you see the Republican candidate leading there. So that DeSantis map in Florida right now looks like it is doing for Republicans what they hoped it would. Now, the other place where there's some action in the House right now, let's move up to Virginia. I'll pull this off the screen. There's 3 districts in Virginia we're keeping a particular eye on tonight. One is the 2nd district of Virginia. Now, this is the Virginia Beach area here. The incumbent Elaine Luria, she was elected in that 2018 Democratic wave. This is very competitive political territory. Joe Biden carried this by 2 points in 2020. Glenn Youngkin won this by 11 points when he was elected governor last year of Virginia. You see Jen Kiggans, the Republican challenger to Elaine Luria, about 22% of the vote in right now, is leading. Now, this is a state, and this is a district where the first reported vote may be more Republican-friendly than the final result, where you're going to get more of the same-day vote in the early mix than you're going to get the early vote. And so you see Kiggans jumping out to a lead here. We'll see. The name of the game here is, as that early vote is added to the mix, can Luria get closer? Can she hold on here? But this is one Republicans at sort of a threshold level tonight, a district that Joe Biden won by 2 points. They want to be winning districts that Joe Biden won by 2 points. The next level here, test sort of for Republicans, this is the 7th district. Abigail Spanberger, a Democrat, again elected in that 2018 wave. Yesli Vega, Republican challenger. Now,
folks,
again,
we'll be back.
You're getting a lot of same-day
vote
vote here, so that is pushing that Republican number very high. This is a district, I'll just show you. It's a district that Joe Biden won by 6 points. So Republicans, it's a little bit more of a hurdle for Republicans to get this one. You know, they feel like on a normal night they could get the 2nd. They feel on a good night they could get the 7th, a night that they might have a bit of a wave going on nationally. But again, I caution you, that number should come down both with early vote being added to the mix, and also if you just look at where the vote is coming in from so far, the the place that has no votes yet is the most Democratic component of the county. That's Prince William County. We don't have any votes from there yet. So again, Spanberger has opportunities to make up what looks like a big gap there on paper, but that's a key race, that 7th district there in Virginia. If Republicans win the 2nd and the 7th, that starts to put them on track for, you know, a significant night. If Democrats defend the 2nd and the 7th, that starts to put them on track for a good night as well. And then the other test here is the 10th district. And again, this is an area of Northern Virginia that's been trending more and more Democratic. Joe Biden actually won this district by 18 points in 2020. Again, you know, it's about 20% here. Democratic areas, early votes, not a big part of this mix right now. So you want to see how these numbers evolve, how these numbers change. But this is sort of, to me, the 10th district of Virginia has been kind of the wave test. It's a Biden plus 18 district. If we start getting a lot of vote in here and the Republican hung cow is either leading or within, say, 5 points, that's pointing to a really big night for Republicans. So Democrats want to win this district. They want to win it big. So those are the 3 kind of tests there that we're looking for in Virginia, and I'm just being told.
Mr. Joseph, are you there? Okay, so yeah, we're still not hearing, but all right, we're still not hearing there. We will work until we get it, folks. we will get it. Just give us the next 10 minutes. You know I'm a genius here. We will get it done. Back to elections.
Florida, we talked about it in Georgia, we talked about it in North
I
Carolina.
have never
The
seen this
earliest
before.
returns, these big batches of votes are going to tend to be early mail votes here. So again, it's going to be, expect to see Ryan lead in these initial counts, and the question becomes, the same day vote, does it give Vance enough to get the lead?
Okay, we will try. We're going to keep trying until we get it, folks. Mr. Joseph is still here with us. We will be trying our best. So what we can do is to, if the phone is in a case, maybe we can take it out the case so that we can get. I think the audio is being muffled. Right. Well, folks, we're here. As I said, thank you again for sharing. Thank you for joining us. You're on to Caribbean American News Network. folks. Just bear with us. Mr.
Are you
Joseph, can you
hearing
hear
me?
us?
I can hear
Oh,
you,
good.
Claire.
So we're
Are you
back in
hearing me?
business. We're back in
Are you
business. So
hearing?
let's go right into business now. Thank God.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. Loud and clear. Folks, thank you for your patience with us.
So
Yes,
you
sir.
are hearing me now.
Oh, yes, I'm happy.
Okay. All right.
Yes, we do apologize. You know, technology, sometimes it is what it is. Yes,
Yep.
yes. Okay, so let's look at some of the issues that are happening there in St. Lucia. Let's look at the banana industry. I know that you're from a banana community in St. Lucia, and you have a lot of knowledge as to that banana industry and the different challenges that St. Lucia have faced in the past and are still facing today. What do you think is the problem, the root problem with our banana industry in St. Lucia? And how do you see the government, present government?
I'll take the opportunity to give just a little background of
Yeah.
myself. I used to be a farmer, Garfield. I was selling 150 boxes of bananas every fortnight. So I was what you see the middle class in Lucia at the time, and as a much in the farm myself, you know, sometimes people look at you and they assume that you only be somebody or you only achieve something in life when I came into politics. That's reality pertaining to me. So being a banana seller at the Weybridge down in docks, I started selling my bananas at the boxing plant. Forestier is one of the leading banana producing communities with some of the top farmers. One of those who went to England because of fruit quality came from the community of Forestier. And one of the three largest farmers in St. Lucia, banana farmers, was from Forestier, based on the level of production. So it is evident. My knowledge of the banana industry goes way back to SLBGA days, when you used to carry banana bunches to the boxing plant. At first they were using wooden boxes, the bunches on us in. They had the one where you had those black plastic boxes, and then you came with cartoons that was used much later on, when you started using pad and these things, bananas. And these were the good days, bananas. When industry, we had preferential treatment on the UK, not the European, UK. And I remember back in the advancing to farm, instead of spending money buying all those expensive magnums to put on the vehicles, there were challenges. The banana industry we needed to be saving some, diversifying industry and going into things. Big production would not be as well. And the cost of production in St. Lucia has been very high because of the type of terrain that we have. Not everybody would be able to remain in the banana. But what is clear is that we'll have a share of the UK. Even as we have seen that bananas, they have stopped exporting our bananas to the UK. The one is the percentage share for the PPP countries, which that's Africa and Caribbean Pacific countries, which supply bananas on the in Europe. We still have that percentage share. Who is selling but in the name of St. Lucia, and why St. Lucia sell its own bananas? and the demand of the banana industry outside of the channels of WTO. You know, the World Trade Organization and challenges that we were in of having treatment in the banana industry. We knew that it would continue, but we did not do a good job. And when I say we, I'm referring to St. Lucia as a country, a party government. I'm making specific reference to what was happening in Europe with our bananas, that we had to reposition ourselves in the industry and do something different from what custom of doing is boxing bananas and sending the UK, whether it met the fruit quality requirements or not. We knew that there were lots of problems those days because the price was good and people would put anything in the boxes. Wow. And you could not inspect every box of banana. And so these pose challenges. So we brought down some of our own challenges, but our biggest challenge came about in 1995 now, when you had Banana Salvation Committee and you had, and I've always said that, Garfield, the late Rupert Gajada was chairman of SLBGA, and then Joseph, they were on a program with Jubua. And the question was put to them as to who brought the demise of the banana industry. I remember Pat being very blunt and straightforward. And he said, look here, there were two things happening. They were using the Labour Party and the Labour Party were using them. But he can say that the Labour Party killed the banana industry. That was when the coupe pa coupe, they had these demonstrations outside of Parliament. You see, all of a sudden, there are all kinds of restrictions to get to the Parliament. But I remember that protest action back in the day. Leading up to the elections of 1997, I was president of the National Council on Public Transport, and I was approached by key figures of the Labour Party who asked me to join, get the buses. In fact, the individual who spoke to me at the time was Claudius Francis, and he had taken me to court on this matter previously, and I won the case. Now, I am not very clear on what the law is, how much I can say on this, even after the matter had been debated in court. But he said I'd done things to damage his reputation, as if Claudius needs anybody's help to damage his reputation. He has done all the damage to himself. He does not need my help to damage his reputation, if he has any. But I'm going back to that, to those days, because it is important for us to understand the trends, because things don't just happen. There is a pattern. There is an end game, and that is what the Labour Party is very good at. They are not good at governing the country, but they plan for the long term. And they put measures in place to deal with the politics, not with the governance of the country. And so they were not mindful about what would happen if they got into office. All they were concerned about was getting into office. And the plan was at the time to shut down the country for 2 weeks before elections of 1997. At the time, it was not Sir John who was prime minister anymore. It was Vaughan Lewis who was prime minister. And then I was approached as the person involved. I wasn't president then, you know. If my memory serves me right, I became president soon afterwards. No, I would have been the president then. Leading up to the 1997 elections. In 95, when they started, I wasn't. But by 97, I was the president. And then we were asked to join. The way they would justify shutting down all the businesses and everything was that they would have to use the minibuses. So if the buses go on strike and there are no buses to transport people, then the country is on lockdown. And I remember in the conversation, I said, fellas, look, y'all are going to win the election 17-0. Why do you want to shut down the country? I was told, oh, we ain't taking no chances. I said, look, I
Wow.
represent the bus drivers, and I'm not going to use the minibus sector for political reasons. And that is winning the election for the Labour Party was a fait accompli. The swing was there. From the time Kenny came on the scene and Hunt was no longer in the picture, the handwriting was on the wall for Vaughan Lewis and what was the UWP then. Because the UWP without Sir John was not the same UWP. So that is the situation that happened with the minibuses were supposed to join the farmers in the strike, and it so happened that both of us were from Forestier, the chairman of SLBGA, Rupert Gajada, and myself. We lived a stone throw away from each other in the same community, and I refused to participate in that um, protest of shutting down the country. I can tell you one other major event that transpired where I was invited to a meeting,
Yeah.
still again as president of the National Council on Public Transport. And the fellows were so adamant about shutting down the country that there was a plan to blow up the bridge in Wavin Poisson, the bridge in Cul-de-Sac, and the bridge in Shock. So they wanted to cut out from all angles entry into the city. And I said to the fellas, look here, man. I got to the meeting late. That meeting was held in Monrepo. And when I got there, it was supposed to be a minibus strike, not a strike for anything pertaining to politics. So when I heard the fellas saying that, I said, fellas, are you all mad? I mean, you telling me you go. So we have an issue with the government. We are dealing with it. So if you blow up the bridge, after you blow up the bridge, what happens the day after when we have to go back to work? How long is it going to take? So one of the fellas who was head honcho in the meeting looked at them and said, where did you all get this fella from? That's making reference to me.
Yeah.
And I said, look here, I'm not in the right place. So the fellas called me outside. I went to another room and they tell me, man, how you could do something like that? And you putting your life at risk and everything.
Yeah.
I said, look here, fellas, you see this thing y'all are planning there? Y'all better forget about that. And I can tell you, they had the dynamites, they had the ladders, and they had the radios for communication, and they were going to blow up the bridges simultaneously.
Wow. This is breaking
That,
news.
that is the extent
The extent.
to
Yeah.
which affiliates of a St. Lucia Labour Party would go to win an election. An election that they had won already, because basically the handwriting was on the wall for the United Workers' Party. There was a national swing in 1997, and as it turned out, only Louis George held on to his seat and just came through by just about 200 plus votes. And if me, as a rookie in the politics, could have seen that Labour Party was winning so convincingly, why were the members of the Labour Party so adamant? And some of the people, they may not be ministers today, but they were very heavily involved in the Labour Party back then. They are involved now. So you think I don't know what to expect from these people. So when you hear about protecting the victory, so going back to where we were,
Yeah.
they destroyed the banana industry in order to win an election. to get the farmers. And to further compound the situation, and I've always said it to them, and nobody can give an explanation. There was a debt of $45 million that the SLBGA had at the time. When they wanted to go to dissolve SLBGA and go into SLBC, the government paid that debt of the $45 million. Yet still, every week when you sold bananas, deductions were made from the farmers for that same $45 million.
Yeah.
Who was collecting the money? Who did the money go to? Because if the government paid the debt for SLBGA, and now SLBGA was no more, it was SLBC, why were they still collecting money? And I mean, it's a lot of years, so farmers will not have pay slips that they can show you now. We didn't have all this technology that where you could just take a picture and store it in the cloud.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, I was a farmer and I know what was happening. So we move on to the banana industry, and then you had a lot of fragments in the banana industry. So you had TQF, you had SLBC, so you had a number of companies all selling bananas to the same UK market. But how many managers were you paying? How many offices were you paying? How many secretaries were you paying? Now I saw on the chat last night when we were having the discussion,
Yeah.
that somebody posted that I know very well that SLBGA was corrupt. And I want to say to that caller, if you think SLBGA was corrupt, who was chairman of SLBGA? Somebody who later became a candidate for the St. Lucia Labour Party?
Oops. Wow.
You understand? So when I tell people already, when you speak, and if you speak into Guy Joseph, you better know what you are saying. Because I have enough information stored up there, not just what I have on paper. I have enough information stored in my brains that when I need to recall it, I can recall it. So as soon as I read that, I said, so you know, a lot of the board members of SLBGA was against Sir John, because I remember Sir John came to a meeting and he read what was happening at SLBGA. And he read the weight of the banana trucks that was weighed, and was weighed several times. And how you would see this week there's that amount, and the next week, and these were high honchos, you know. And you know what? Most of them were affiliated to the Labour Party, not the United Workers' Party.
Mm-hmm.
So people need to be careful about what they say. And now, if they think that SLBGA was corrupt and they needed to get rid of it, what happened with the new banana companies? What happened to SLBC? Who can tell us what happened to SLBC? And all the assets that was owned by SLBGA, all of the boxing plants, the building in Castries that is still a vacant lot today, the Agriculturist Association, all of the entities that was affiliated, all of the farms that belong to SLBGA, what happened to all of them? What became of all of these assets? Who took charge of these assets, and what did they do with them? And did the farmers ever get the benefits that was due to them? And when we lost preferential treatment, and I will tell you, both governments, both UWP government and SLP government, did not treat the farmers as they ought to have been treated. And I can say that without fear of criticism. Because What happened with the EU? When we lost preferential treatment, you think it's by accident we just got all of this grant funding from the EU and all of that? Most of that came in as a result of knowing that we were once a colony of the UK.
Yeah.
We lost our preferential treatment. So, to make up for the diversification of the economy, we got a lot of grant funding. We got money for roads, for buildings, for all kinds of things. But you know what the governments did? They assigned these monies to do things that did not directly relate to diversification and the farmers and to benefit them. So by the time we came back into office in 2006, we had very little control or say in the banana industry, because now the banana industry had been privatized. Now, Garfield, sometimes I'm not sure how to address you.
Listen to me. That is okay, Garfield. Man, you can invent a special name for me. I'll be good. But I'm listening.
I like to refer to
I'm
you. I
learning.
like to refer to you as pastor. You do,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Well, I'll
for
call
the
you Pastor
purposes
too.
of yeah, I'm saying that what should have happened to us
Hmm.
is that the funds that were given should have been used to reposition the farmers into different industries.
Yeah,
But every government would use the money to finance the budget and the projects for their constituencies. And so when we came in 2006, what happened is that I remember Sir John said for almost the 3 months that he was in office, he said, Guy, I've been trying to find the government and I cannot find the government.
wow.
In other words, what he left in 1995 when he was prime minister and what he inherited was so far from what was the government of St. Lucia that he was just trying to put things together, and we were on a path to restore the banana industry. I remember I was part of the process. Minister of Agriculture Ezekiel Joseph, Peter Josie had been appointed to be our representative on Windfresh. Because remember, Windfresh had been established to market our bananas to the UK. Now, by then, Dominica was not producing bananas. Grenada was not producing bananas. St. Vincent was very little, almost no bananas
Yeah,
at the time. So it was just St. Lucia. We could not change the people there because we had only a 25% share, because there was equal share among each of the islands. So what we were trying to do is to buy out Grenada's shares, so that we could have control of Windfresh and be able to take charge of the banana industry. Now, the banana industry was critical for the economy of St. Lucia. It was critical for the agricultural sector. And once you do not have a main crop, anybody who's into this farming business would know. If you do not have a mainstay crop, then it affects all other sectors. And when you have a mainstay cash crop, it benefits all other sectors. So you find that people with banana plantations would plant citrus fruits in between. They would plant mango trees along the river banks and coconut trees on the hedges to protect the erosion of the soil. Where there was sufficient water, they would plant some dashing. They would do so. The banana industry helped every other area of the agricultural sector. Now you think somebody will go and just plant a few dashing plants somewhere and think that he can make a living out of that. But when he had his banana plantation where he could not plant some banana trees, he would. So bananas was very critical when we talk about feeding yourself and eating what you grow and growing what you eat. The banana industry was very critical for that. So we found that the fragmentation of the industry, the division where one set is selling there, another set, this one is competing with that one. This week, one farmer is selling to TQF, another week they selling to SLBC, and it is a whole fiasco that happened.
Yeah.
That was caused by the St. Lucia Labour Party.
Yeah.
Now, just think of it for a moment, Garfield, you and our listeners, our viewers. Think of the tourism industry. If you did not have a ministry of tourism, and all of a sudden you put the tourism industry in the hands of private sector, what would happen? Now, I want to sound the alarm for St. Lucians. You see what has happened to our banana industry? We are on that same path to our tourism industry. And that is being done by the St. Lucia Labour Party again. This is history repeating itself. And I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know
right.
how many times we have to be shafted by the St. Lucia Labour Party for the people of St. Lucia to begin to open their eyes and realize that we are losing our country by the method of governance.
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden now, we are told that we cannot sell bananas on the European market. So I will close off on the bananas. I will round off that and I will
Yes.
come back to what is happening to the tourism industry
That's
and you
right.
will see the similarities. So, what was your national crop? That was the mainstay of your economy. You put it in the hands of private sector people. It came to nothing. Look at what has happened. Windfresh, on the other hand, would buy bananas from other countries, Costa Rica and different places, and sell these bananas as Windward Islands bananas, while our bananas could not get entry into the market. You know why? Because the profit margins for these countries were higher. Because they could buy the bananas cheaper from these other places and sell it and make a bigger profit. So Dominica, Grenada, and St. Vincent would get benefits even if they were not selling bananas, while St. Lucia could not sell all of its bananas on the market. So that's why I've told them, you see this CARICOM arrangement, that ain't working. CARICOM is just a convenient organization. Whenever the rubber hits the road, it's every man for himself.
Every man for himself. That's right.
Yes, that is what it has been. So what we were doing when we came in, and I want people like Eustace Monrose and the others, I want them to come out and speak now. And I can call their names. You know why? Because these were the people who were vocal, applying pressure on the Minister of Agriculture and the Prime Minister. You know for how many weeks, while we were in government, for about 6 or 12 weeks, they had not paid the farmers. You know why? Because the quality of the fruit they were sending up was substandard. And instead of the UK owing them money, they were owing the UK money. And then they could not pay the farmers. We had to take money through the CIP and to give a loan to them so that the farmers could get paid the money. Then they had taken some loan, they had built that water plant you remember some people had closely affiliated to the Labour Party had some water, they were doing spring water in St. Lucia.
Yeah.
How H2O, was it H2O?
I forget what it is, but I remember.
And then, so do you know that that was Windfresh that had made the investment in this thing? Then they had spent some money in Grenada, they had spent some money in St. Vincent, doing things that are not related to the banana industry at all, And I want to ask them before I make a statement. Did we get any returns on these investments? So what was happening in the UK now is that Windfresh was taken to court and was going up to be to file for bankruptcy, and the bank would move in because they had taken I think is a 10 million pound loan to invest in these projects. So what we had done was we had paid the initial amount of that loan so that it would not go into receivership to
Right.
be sold to the highest bidder. And we were in negotiations with a company from Jamaica so that we could take over the industry and we would have Invest St. Lucia being the lead representative of the government as the investor, and that we could preserve our share of the market. When we lost elections, that is where the negotiations were. We had secured things so that Windfresh would not go into receivership. We had made all of the arrangements. So why is it that the Labour Party came in and after a year, all of a sudden you heard we cannot ship bananas to the UK anymore? How is that? Who came forward and gave us an explanation? So all the time Labour Party is spending speaking about Guy Joseph and Alan Chasney and this and that. Have they come out and given an explanation to the people of St. Lucia as to what happened? What did they inherit? What did they do? And how all of a sudden the banana industry is gone? Now they may tell you it's not gone because we're still selling on the regional market.
Yeah, that's what you're hearing now. They're trying to open market in Trinidad and other countries.
But why give up your prime market to go and find other markets?
Well, we
You
have.
you see something's not adding up
That's right.
because why would I have a market that I'm not preserving and I'm leaving that market and I'm going to try and find other markets? So you think the islands will continue to buy substandard fruit from us? What happened to our mangoes going to Barbados? You remember after we had an issue with the insect they said was found in the mango seed that we could not send mangoes to the US, we
Yeah.
could not send mangoes to Barbados. So don't you think that if we cannot maintain a certain standard of production, because are we saying that the Caribbean is substandard? So the Europeans are supposed to get one standard and the rest of the Caribbean get a lesser standard of fruit? Is that the standard that we want to set for ourselves? So you see, we are sending mixed signals.
Mixed
And
signal. Yeah.
when you speak that way, people tell you, oh, you think you know this and you think. It's not a matter of thinking that I know it. Common sense would deduce that if that is what, because if I go and buy an apple today, and I went and I did some apple picking because the weather was nice on Sunday,
Oh,
not
up in
on
your
my
end?
apple. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. I did. But you pay a few dollars and you go and they give you a bag and you do your apple picking. I did some of that on Sunday, and then I'm saying that this is where I would choose the best quality apple. Anything that I see that have a mark that is it. Because as far as I'm concerned, I paid my money, I will select the best ones. If I'm going to buy an apple in St. Lucia, I want to choose the best apple I can get. So the same way, if I go to Trinidad or Jamaica or Barbados and I'm going to buy a banana in this place, I want to buy the best banana, the best quality. So if we think we cannot meet the European standard, but we can meet the Caribbean standard, so is there a different standard for these places? If we are going to supply the cruise ships with bananas, which is another project that we were working on, marrying the relationship between tourism and agriculture. Are we going to sell substandard fruit to the cruise ships? Are they not the same Europeans and Americans who are on the cruise ship? And our bananas is one of the top quality bananas. And the plan, we had developed a brand for St. Lucia. And our bananas would be branded as gourmet bananas from St. Lucia. We would differentiate it from the rest of the bananas in the market. And so we would have been able to remain viable and profitable on the market. But all of a sudden, a new government came in, and I said it. I may have said it jokingly, but I know. I said, once you put a forestry officer in charge of agriculture, every farm will become a forest.
A forest. That's
Yes.
what I like that. Yes.
But the man they put in charge of agriculture was a forestry officer. You can't cut a tree. You cannot trim a branch. You cannot. I mean, these fellas took it beyond. I was trying to get a road done in Forest there, right next to the school, to link a community to the main road, and to get to cut 2 trees. Even as a minister of government. So what I'm saying to you there, Garfield, is that we have a serious problem. You put a forestry officer in charge, and I said it, every farm will turn to a forest. And it is coming through much sooner than I expected.
Yes, because a lot of
Because if
farmers
all
will
of a
have to
sudden,
abandon their crops, their fields. It's not. I mean, it's not sustainable.
so that is what Philip JP and his government should be explaining to the people of St. Lucia. What did you get? Why all of a sudden our bananas cannot go to the UK? And I've said it, it is going to have an impact on our trade. It is
Yep.
going to have an impact on the cost of transporting things that you purchase from Europe to the Caribbean.
Yep.
Because we were guaranteed every week you had a ship, because at the end of the day, they have to transport our goods back up to the UK. So they were making a two-way trip. Now, when they come down to St. Lucia with cargo from the UK, what are they going back up with? So after price is already so high, so our truckers would buy a truck in the UK and something to bring down to. What is going to happen? Most of the equipment in St. Lucia would originate from the UK. You could go up there and buy something for a few pounds and get it down here cheap enough. That you see, these are the things. When decisions are made, we need to understand the implication. Now, Garfield, if you have any questions, feel free to
Yeah,
come in any.
Yeah, because what I wanted to ask you, but no, I'm listening. I'm honestly, catching up on, But interestingly, you spoke earlier in the show about the banana strike and the plot by the then SLP administration to destabilize basically the country using the banana situation there, which, by the way, caused the death of I think 2 guys.
2 young men from Randy.
One of them was my
Randy-
friend, my good friend Joseph. I remember him like yesterday. And then now we have the SLP accusing the United Workers' Party of killing the bananas and doing nothing for banana farmers. Then now I have a banana farmer, Mr. Eric Celestin, who's going to be here on Monday. He is a stunt SLP supporter. Now, when I left St. Lucia, the guy was a United Workers' Party guy. But then he switched to the SLP, and during Mr. Shaston's time, get the white man out, the white man, Guy Voller, the white man. And recently I heard him complaining and saying that the SLP government lied to them, and he's, he's going to be here on Monday to discuss with us. So, I mean, it is sad. It is sad that they're trying to be the savior of banana now, while playing with the farmers of St. Lucia. Sad.
So, you know, and that's what I'm saying. Sean was a vocal person on bananas. Musa was a vocal person on bananas. Philip J. Pierre didn't speak much, I guess, because Castries is don't have much of the bananas. But there were some loud voices in the St. Lucia Labour Party, knowing full well the challenges of the banana industry, rather than cooperating with the government. Because I always say to people, I am not going to go and do things that are detrimental to St. Lucia because I'm in opposition. And then tomorrow, when I come and inherit the government, I still have the same problems that I created to deal
That's
with.
right.
Now, let's switch over to what has happened.
Yeah.
The tourism industry. What did
Yes.
we see from the St. Lucia Labour Party? And these videos that circulated where this lady on the beach in Casablanca was saying, and in the protest that was organized by the operatives of the Labour Party saying,
Yeah.
we don't want no white man in this country, we don't want this, we don't want that.
I have something to say on
So
that later.
what signal are we sending? So we used to accuse places of America, like America and Europe and the different places, of being racist and, you know, not being accommodating and welcoming.
That's right.
Garfield, in my books, America is one of the most liberal countries in the world and
That's
the
right.
most accommodating country that I have come across. Much more accommodating than St. Lucia, my own country.
Yeah. Yep.
America has its problems like every other country would have. But the things that people, the way people come up here and they're able to stay and they're able to do this and do that and do the other, they can, not even in St. Lucia you can do that. The things that people can manage and how they can make a living here, whether they are documented or undocumented.
Yes.
I mean, yet still we would find people attacking people because, you know, you support America. I will support America before I support
That's right.
Venezuela or Russia or China or any of these places.
Yeah.
Because, but these same people who are so against America, that's the first place they want to go, to America. So my problem is the Labour Party has brought racism into the politics of
That was dangerous. And that's what got me involved, because I sat there for 4 years or more listening, and I was very disgusted. I was like, a white man go back to your country? What are they talking about?
But Garfield, it has gone beyond that now. It's not just the white man who's under attack. Anybody who's not a supporter of the Labour Party and who speaks out gets themselves on the attack. You have experienced it.
Oh, boy.
Look at what has happened to Ian.
Yeah. Yep.
And you know how much I have gone through just because I'm of Indian descent?
Oh, I watched that too.
Okay? So the attacks have been a white man and a coolie man who want to control St. Lucia. I
Yeah.
never want to control St. Lucia. I just want to make my contribution to St. Lucia.
Amen.
And I've always told them, my contribution speaks for itself. You know why my contribution can speak for itself, Garfield? Because at the end of the day, I have never depended on government. I have created work for myself. I've contributed to the economy. I've not been one of those who sit by to siphon money from government. And I will come, if time permits, I will come to the accusations that have been made and all of this.
Sure,
but
sure.
I want to tell them that I've been a hard-working St. Lucian from a child growing up to now. And I will continue to make my contribution to St. Lucia. I've not lived at the expense of the country. I've made my contribution. I'm not in government. And if they want to find out what I've done, the records are there to show. So this is where we need to come to terms with what is happening. So there was the attack on Cabot. There was the
Yes.
attack on Theo Akim,
Yeah.
being called a leech. A man who is praised and held in highest regard in a place like Dubai. Now, note where I'm going with this.
Yes, sir.
So the same people who are going to go and beg people from Dubai to come and do things in St. Lucia chased away a man like Theo Akim, who the hierarchy in Dubai holds in highest esteem. You go to Singapore and you go to Theo Akim's office and you see the operation that this man is running. This is no ordinary individual that we are speaking about. So when you can go to the leader of places like Dubai and Singapore and this place, and you have clout in there, this is not an ordinary individual. But you go and attack these people.
Yeah.
Note what I said to you, and I'm saying it to all St. Lucians. They privatized the banana industry and they fragmented it in the hands of different persons. So let's look at what is happening to the tourism industry now. And if I'm not there to see it, the generations to come
Will.
will remember
Yes,
that
sir.
that was spoken of. So what has happened? We had the attack. We don't want Cabot came and take our money, NIC money.
That's
And
right.
Cabot just gave them back their money. It means that NIC has lost over $5 million of interest that they would have made. But NIC is spending millions of dollars on the stock market to raise money. Went and invested with the Bank of St. Lucia, between the two of them, almost $40 million in Blue Coral. And Blue Coral could not even pay back itself. They had to convert it into shares, and now they are the owners.
So they're the
What
owner,
started
of Blue Coral.
out as a $16 million project during the time when Emma was the head of NIC became almost a $40 million project. And no matter how much they rent it for, they try to sell. It would have been cheaper to knock down this building and build a brand new building than what it cost them to repair that building that is so badly designed that you can hardly use it for anything. But these are the people who have been in charge of our money. And the voices that were so vocal about the NIC money and Cabot gave them security of almost 500 acres of land that was worth well over $40 million for $10 million. You
This
have
is a
over
win-win for the
$40 million.
NIC.
You have over $40 million security for $10 million. I mean, who are the economists who advise the Labour Party? Or is it pure mischief that these people are after and they don't care what the facts are?
So it's nothing new. Like the banana situation, nothing.
So
Yeah.
we had all of these attacks. We don't want white people in our country. The white people are not welcome here. This, that. That was the chant. I never heard for one somebody in the Labour Party came out and made an official statement that this is not the position of the St. Lucia Labour Party. These are individuals who are. But just the other day, there was some statement made by somebody in the UWP concerning some women and whatever. And then all of a sudden, they wanted the leader of the opposition. You have to come out and condemn
That's
that.
right.
How does that impact the economy of St. Lucia
St. Lucia.
as compared to what was happening? And 1.5 wrongs don't make a right. So I
Don't.
don't believe 2 wrongs make a right.
But the
Okay.
Labour Party would not make a statement, Mr. Joseph, because you had the political leader, Mr. At the time, the political leader, Mr. Ampere, constantly in the House referring to the opposition leader, Mr. Shastney, as not being one of us and being born with a silver spoon in his mouth or whatever it is, the phrase. So they would not, I mean, it seems like that is just part of the Labour Party group.
That is why under St. Lucia Labour Party, St. Lucia will always remain a country of beggars and poor people. Because when you say being born with a golden spoon or a silver spoon, is that a crime? So is that a crime for your parents to be successful, to achieve, and to give you the best?
Yeah.
I mean, I always tell people, it is not just what is said, it is what is not said. So let's look at it today. Because I grew up poor and I did not have the means because my parents did not have it. So if I have children, they're supposed to be poor. They're not supposed to be well off. They're not supposed to go to school and get a university education because my parents did not have a university education. But that is what the Labour Party, you see, people in St. Lucia, we need to open our eyes and understand why you can never make progress under a St. Lucia Labour Party. A few people will do it. A few people will do well because that's what they are concerned about. Every foreigner. Now, let's look at it. Remember, people have forgotten FFF. Friends, family, and foreigners. I have not forgotten that phrase. You know why I have not forgotten it? Because everything the Labour Party intends to do, they tell you beforehand. So now who is in charge? Where did they celebrate our independence? In Dubai. With who did they celebrate it? Not with St. Lucians. So it was friends, family, and foreigners.
Foreigners, the white man.
Exactly. So I was saying, let's look at our tourism industry and what is happening. So the same thing that they privatized the banana industry is beginning to happen to the next mainstay of our economy, which is tourism. So number one, the ports.
Yes, yes. I wanted us
A
to go
deal
there.
has been signed for how many years? 40 years.
40 years.
Now here's what Philip J. said. And Philip J. you can fool the people that are around you. You can't fool people like me. And there are thousands of other St. Lucians that you cannot fool, Philip. You cannot fool them. So he said, how can he commit the people of St. Lucia to a loan for the airport for the next 30 years for our children? But you can give away our ports for 40 years to a foreign entity. And you know the reports I'm getting, what it is indicating? That this company is on the verge of selling out to another company. So when they sell, they will sell the privileges or the rights or the agreement that they have entered into.
My God.
So we don't even know who is going to be in charge of our ports. Now remember, this is the cruise port we are talking about. The bulk of our tourists comes through the cruise sector. So you put that in the hands of one set of private people. Foreigners at that. You're now negotiating another deal with the airport for another 30 years. Now tell me how people can arrive in St. Lucia. There are two ways you can arrive, by sea or by air. We don't have a bridge to Martinique, Barbados, or St. Lucia. So you cannot drive. So you must either fly or come in by sea. And I want St. Lucians, I want us as a people to open our eyes. After the Labour Party gave away our seabed, that we are still fighting cases in court today to control our seabed. So Kenny and Philip J. Pierre, who was standing right behind him in the photo, when the deal was made with Grindberg, they taken. So Kenny gave away the seabed, but the ports was still under our control. So Philip J. Pierre now has given away the port. So he has given away the seaport, and he is in the process of giving away the airport. So who will control our tourism industry?
The white man.
You see where this thing is going, Garfield? And all the people who are matching with Philip J. Pierre, where's Richard Frederick today? Where's Stevenson King? Where are those persons who always attacked Alan Chastanet for what he was doing for St. Lucia?
Yeah.
Where is Kenny Anthony? Why is he silent? Silence is consent.
And yeah.
So it means that you are supporting what is going on there. Alva from the People's Republic of Labrie, you as foreign minister, you have a say. You are a senior person in the Labour Party. Musa, you did not want us to touch Maria Islet in Viewfort because you wanted to preserve it for Zakaya and Tululu. You don't want to preserve the ports for future generations. You don't want to preserve the airport and leave it in the ownership of St. Lucia. You see the hypocrisy of these fellas.
And there is no consultation on especially the Port Castries and Viewfort and Souvray.
200 acres of land that was leased to build a horse racing track that nobody can put on their back and go with. And they can tell me, yes, nobody can put the port on their back and go with it, but they have control of it for 40 years.
That's right.
40 years. That means for me to get, as a St. Lucian, to have back control of the port, I would have to be 106 years. At the age of 106 is when I would get back. And it's at the age of 86 we will have 50, no, and 40s. I would have to be 96 years old,
yeah,
to get back control of the port, and 86 to get back control of the airport if we allow them to go through. You see where this thing is going?
So you can consider it sold.
Every industry that have generated money to empower the people of St. Lucia, the Labour Party has been on a rampage to destroy these industries and to take it away from the control of St. Lucians.
I think they need to hold back. Sorry, Mr.
What
Guy.
they did to the banana industry is exactly what they are doing to the tourism industry.
Yeah, I think they need to pull back on this port, the lease of the ports. I think they need to consult with the people. Just like going to the CCJ, they just bulldoze their way there without any consultation. I believe these major decisions should, the people of St. Lucia should, have an input on it. You're talking about 40 years, I
mean, this is crazy. In this unstable environment, so a company is coming to spend $46 million on your port, and you give him the port for 40 years. Now, 46 million is just about $1 million a year.
That doesn't make sense.
$1 million a year is what, from your cruise head tax alone, how much are you collecting every year? From the berthing fees for the ships, from the water that is sold, from everything that happens, how much are you generating from this every year?
Wow. This is a giveaway.
So for an investment of 46 million. And I've been to these negotiations. We were in negotiations with Dubai Ports World. That was back in 2006 when I was minister responsible for air and seaports. And when we went to the meeting, we put our proposal on. They put their proposal, we put our proposal. We had that meeting in Miami. And at the time, the port was generating about $10 million a year. And DP World, they would have made us a transshipment area for the Caribbean. So you'd get a lot more traffic with cargo ships, and a lot more containers would be coming through. So when we did the negotiations, now how much money you think they were spending at the time on the port? $40 million, to bring in the equipment to be able to do basic stuff, because the port is there already. You already have a deep water harbor. Any size of ship can come in. Yeah. Occasionally, you have to do a little dredging now and then when there's silt buildup. But you look at the size of the ships. You have basically all the infrastructure. So we wanted the increased traffic. So I said, yes, we can make an arrangement, but you're not taking over what we have there.
That's right. I agree.
You guarantee me that I will continue to get my $10 million as SLASPA every year. And then all additional revenue you bring in, we can do the 80-20 split that you want. But they wanted from the get-go to get 80-20. So they would spend $40 million on a port that we have spent hundreds of millions of dollars over the years, because that is what people are not understanding. What is the level of investment that St. Lucia has made in its ports over the years? Because I was part of the negotiations with GP World. I know what they were offering. And we said, no, you need to come much better than that. So maybe they've come better than that.
Right. So, but what is the plan? If they're coming better than what they were offering your administration, what is in this plan for the vendors in Castries? Can they afford to rent or lease these boutiques, duty-free boutiques, that will be provided, that will be built?
All I can tell you is that these people, when they come in, a cruise ship would pull out of St. Lucia for the sake of getting water in Dominica free of charge, as opposed to paying $20 for 1,000 gallons of water in St. Lucia. $1 will make a difference to these people. So when you see, so we are going to have a situation where the head tax is going to be increased. Now here's what we were doing as a government. We had done the negotiations and we have an MOU that was signed with Carnival Cruise Lines, where they themselves were going to make the investment, and we were pushing them to make the investment in Vieux Fort.
Yeah.
Because for you to do home porting, you need to be able to have it in Vieux Fort.
Vieux Fort.
You cannot do home porting and the ship is in Castries, but the people are landing in Vieux Fort. Then you have all of that transportation to take care of. And that is why our plan for the airport was very clear, that the terminal, the existing terminal, would remain, and that would be the terminal, because the terminal is not too close to the runway. The terminal is too close to the runway only when you have these like British Airways and these bigger airplanes having to park in front of the terminal. So that's why they always have to go on a side.
Oh.
But if you leave the terminal that you have there, we would leave that terminal as our chartered place for our cruise passengers.
Makes
And
sense.
you could create a dedicated lane from there to the cruise ships. Because so you see, Alan Shasley is a genius when it comes to how he managed the economy
Yeah.
and how he was able to project the revenues. So we knew that we could pull in another minimum in the first year about 75,000 passengers to come to St. Lucia to go through the home port. A lot of these people would spend a day or two because they'll come a couple days before and they may leave a couple days after because you can't have everybody leaving the same day. Then you would be supplying a lot of agricultural products to the ship that is doing home porting. You needed more hotels in the south to accommodate these persons. You had all of these, and then you have the head tax. Think of an additional 75,000 people every year coming. And let's just round off the figure to 100 US. How much does that work out, Garfield?
I'm not a
75,000
mathematician.
times
100 and how much?
100. That's 7.5 million US. So that's an additional 20 million EC a year. Multiply that 20 million, Garfield, by, if we take 20 million, that's EC, and we multiply that by the 30 years of the airport. I want St. Lucians to understand
St.
how the
Lucians, grab your
math
calculator.
how the maths works out by 30 years. That is 600 million EC dollars just from the head tax. That is almost paying for your airport. Just by having, we're not talking about all the 500,000 stay over passengers that we have coming in, you know. So when we said that there's no way we are giving this airport out of the control of St. Lucia, because we saw all the revenue projections are there. Now, remember, we are averaging 75,000 people for the year. Suppose you get, because the benefits now, you are 5 minutes from the airport to the cruise ship.
Yeah.
Barbados cannot offer that. Jamaica cannot offer. Nowhere else in the Caribbean that is placed to do home porting has that potential. So we saw it. We knew it was going to happen. So we were now pushing the cruise ships to go in there. And Carnival Cruise Lines had already agreed to increase the head tax so that the investment that they were making, they would be paying themselves, not St. Lucia. And we were sending them to build a port in Vieux-Fort where a cruise port does not exist. And we would remain in control of Port Castries.
Wow.
I mean, it doesn't, Garfield, it does not take a genius to figure that out. A basic business student would understand the benefits and the profits that come with doing that.
So my question would be, who is advising the smart government? I mean, I'm confused.
These fellas are too dunce to be advised. They cannot understand advice even if you give it to them. They want everybody in St. Lucia to remain poor.
Wow.
I mean, when I see, and I'm telling you, the company that is coming in will not come in And remember, the money we allocated to pay for the airport was just $35. Back in the day when Labour was doing the airport and they were giving it out through the IFC to get the project done, they had offered $55 per head, and the company said they could not do it for 55. They wanted between 60 and 65. So can you imagine what the company will ask for now to build the airport? And we were doing it, and in 15 years, we would have more than paid for that airport at the $35. So think of how much money this entity is going to make in St. Lucia. But I've said, and I've said it to the political leader, Alan Shasney, we need to put them on the alert that if we come, not if, when UWP gets back into government, that deal is not going to stand.
Yeah. 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 That is good news.
Because there's no, how can you give away the revenue of a poor country like St. Lucia? You want to just give million. I mean, you giving the fellas the pot for 40 years to spend $46 million?
I think it's just laziness and lack of vision by the government. Let me ask you, Mr. Guy.
Now, Garfield, these fellas don't own a cruise ship, It's not that when you give them to, I mean, if you give it to Carnival Cruise Lines or Royal Caribbean or one of them, we can say, okay, they can increase the traffic flow into the area.
That's right.
You are just giving a set of people who are just operating ports, and they go and negotiate a package with the cruise lines.
It's just like a building management group here in the United States,
like
managing
I have
a building.
My building and I just give somebody to manage it for me, and they have to go and find a tenant. So I have my tenant already.
Yeah.
I'm giving up my tenant, and I'm giving somebody to find tenants for me. This is crazy. I mean, I have never seen a prime minister as clueless as Philip JPA.
But let me ask you, how much is it going to cost the St. Lucian people with the change of plans with the airport there in Vieux Fort? What is it going to is there going to be a cost to the people of St. Lucia?
I don't know. We are still awaiting. I know they are speaking to some company in Canada that is affiliated to the government of Canada.
But they're white people. Why talk to them?
Well,
why can't you go to Africa and find someone to do it?
That is for St. Lucians to open their eyes and see who is for friends, family, and foreigners. That is where this is coming in. And the Labour Party saw that Alan Shasney was putting St. Lucia on such a progressive path that we were rebuilding the economy of the middle income people in the country.
Yeah.
That people were beginning to do well. The economy COVID gave us a blow, but we were going to recover from COVID quickly.
But the St. Lucian people said that we do not want Vieux Fort to become a Miami, and that was a backward statement, an ignorant statement. I would love to see Vieux Fort look like Miami.
You know, one of the ladies who said that, where her daughter works in Miami.
Yeah, sorry. You hit me hard there.
That is the level of ignorance. And these people, they shop in Miami, they don't shop in St. Lucia. Every how many months they up there, they make their barrels with everything and they send it down. So the fools who listen to them now and follow them, it's the same way those who tell you, oh, we don't know Dolphin Park. But when you see they go to Disney World and they go to all the different, they go to SeaWorld, what do they go and see there? But you see, when people who are truthful and honest, like Alan Shasney, would come forward and tell the people of St. Lucia, I can't help work with you to make St. Lucia a better place than it is. But people want to remain in their poverty.
Wow, wow. I know the Dolphin
They
Park came
want
um under a lot of fire. Most of the let's look at it. The reality is most of the projects that was proposed by the United Workers Party administration came under heavy fire from the St. Lucia Labour Party in opposition. From the airport, the new hospital, and the new hospital is a whole nother discussion. You know,
I need a program just to deal with the hospital.
and I would love to give you the entire show and just sit back and watch it on Facebook. I would love to give you the whole platform, give you the best audio, because the people of St. Lucia need to know. And the problem with our St. Lucian people is that they forget very quickly. They forget very quickly. You understand? We don't need a polyclinic in Vieux Fort. You need a hospital in Vieux Fort, a proper hospital.
But the work being done by the Labour Party is evident that they have no intentions of developing the South.
Yeah.
And I think the people of the South are getting what they deserve for voting for the Labour Party for so many years.
St. Lucia and Vieux Fort is.
I know that's a hard statement, Garfield, to make, but I'm telling you,
but it's the reality.
What you sow is that you will reap.
Exactly.
If you plant dashing, you cannot go and harvest yams. You have been investing in the Labour Party for all of these years, and the Labour Party has been shafting Vieux Fort for all of these years. The only Prime Minister who was going to make a major difference in Vieux Fort, or in the South, not Vieux Fort, the South.
The South.
And the South covers from Micoud, I would say Prale, all the way back to Soufrière. The southwest coast.
That place needs to be developed.
And you have the greatest potential. And
yes.
You have a prime minister who has the vision. And has my support for DSH. And I'll come back to the hospital and everything. Or maybe I should make that point. The reason why they do not want a proper hospital in Vieux Fort is because they expect that there'll be more migration from Vieux Fort to Castries, because they have no intentions of developing Vieux Fort. Under UWP-led government, people were now migrating from Castries, going to Vieux Fort to get work. Now, the reverse is happening again, where people now have to leave the South and pay so much bus to just get a little job. So if you have no intentions of fixing Vieux Fort, you have no intentions of developing Vieux Fort, you want to reduce the size of the airport, which means you don't want to grow that sector. You have cancelled, by going into that agreement with GP for Port Castries, you have cancelled the project in Vieux Fort.
That's right.
Because you are now doing Soufrière. And so which tourists will take a cruise when they get to Soufrière? Will take a transport and come to Vieux Fort? What will they come and do in Vieux Fort? What is there to see and to do in Vieux Fort?
So I'm listening to this and I'm getting upset because, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. When you look at the hospital, they want to downsize it. The airport, downsize it. Port Vieux Fort, just wipe it. Just don't even discuss it. I don't understand why the Labour Party they're acting like a downsizing. I mean, I don't understand. You should be upgrading. You should be building things bigger and better.
That is the problem we have. And that's why I found myself coming under a lot of criticism, Garfield, because I had the vision with Alan and the other members of the United Workers Party. And we saw where we were taking this country,
Yeah.
This country would become the envy of the Caribbean. And that's what. So obviously they have no plans for Viewfort. But let me
No,
tell you one of the reasons why I
I've
supported
not heard any plan for
DS.
Viewfort really.
DSH I saw was the catalyst for the takeoff of the development of Viewfort. So let me put that in perspective and
Uh-huh.
let me break it down in simple terms that people can understand. When you and you are familiar with this here more than other people. Anytime you go into open a mall, for it to be successful, you need a couple key tenants who would be the businesses that would draw the people to come there. The other smaller shops and operations of other entities in that mall will benefit from the main tenants there. So let me see. If you have a mall here without a Macy's or without maybe a Ross,
Yeah,
Ross dresses for less. I
that's right.
know you when you go to a mall and you don't get maybe for ladies fashion Bloomingdale's Burlington coat factory and these things, you don't draw the people. And
No,
it could be a mall, it could be a shopping plaza. You need a key person to pull the crowd in. So if I use Sunny Acres in St. Lucia as an example, the supermarket draws the people there. But then when they get there, they may go to Sea Island Cotton, they may go to, the other little shops, the portrait shops, the
hmm
little, the hairdresser who's there. You need a key business
yeah,
to draw people to the area. So what I saw DSH as, you do not have any major attractions in Viewfort to draw people. But people from the north like to go to Viewfort. Whenever there's a line in Viewfort. I mean, when there was just those drag races on the Kakabeth, you saw the kind of crowds that it would put. Now think of it. As a child going to horse racing by Trim's Riding Stables, St. Lucians have always loved horse racing.
just like the
You
Bajans.
got you got an international person coming in, and that is why you cannot have your airport in private hands. Because when you have your airport in private hands and you develop a horse racing track, and most people who come to horse races, they come with their jets. They have to go for a private entity who can charge them whatever they want to. So the master plan was there. So DSH now, and I said to the Prime Minister Alan Chasney at the time, I said to him, you see all these big fancy plans that Teo Hakim has there. If he can do 10% of it, Viewfort is going to take off like there's no tomorrow.
That's right.
Because I saw him as the catalyst. You see, just like bananas was the mainstay of our agricultural sector, and every other crop benefited from the cash crop of bananas. I saw DSH as that. The investment he was making there, he was putting a culinary school there, university, um, that would train people. So people would be trained people from all around the world would come there to get training. Then you have horse racing. They don't have winter in St. Lucia. There's no
Nope.
time of the year or season that you cannot have a horse race. And the horse racing, and while I have no part in gambling, so you'll not see me going there and betting on a horse. But the country would benefit. Same way, I don't participate in things pertaining to alcohol. But when the tax revenue is collected from the alcohol, you can say I'm not using it to do this. It's part of the revenue of the country.
Yes.
So the same way I saw, and then the developments that was taking place around the horse racing track. So all of a sudden, you know how many small businesses St. Lucians could own around this? And they were building a village. I remember when I went to Trinidad, um, there's a village. I was trying to remember the name before the name just slipped me. But there's a Chinese fella who developed a place in Trinidad where you go there, you get all the high-end shops and everything, and there's all kinds of entertainment and everything happening. He Movie Town. They call it Movie Town in
Movie
Trinidad.
town.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been there several times. It's a very nice hangout area. He had already come and look at the area. So what we were doing while Theo Akim was developing there, we had the 33 acres that is by Sandy Beach. And that is why we were diverting the airport road so that concrete road that used to be the old airstrip when the American base was there, which we drive on now. We would put the road along the airport fence, and that would become like a boardwalk. So we were not allowing any buildings to go on the beach side. But there was 33 acres that Invest St. Lucia was already developing. They had the master plan and everything. We will put the water, electricity, road network, sewerage, everything. And you would be selling these lots for local people, Caribbean people who want to start a little guest house with 5 rooms, have their own restaurant, if they want to do parasailing, scuba diving, whatever. So all of these businesses now was geared towards local and regional people. So Viewfort would become the hangout spot. And to further add to what we were saying, remember we had the 27 US dollar savings because we put the airport tax at $98. 35 was for the airport, 25 is for SLASPA for its operations. So the other 27 was to finance the highway from Darren Sammy Cricket Ground to the south. Now I've always said St. Lucia is 27 miles long. If you build a highway that you can drive at 65 miles an hour and you build it straight as possible, it would take you is 30 minutes to get to Viewfort. But anybody from the north can go down for lunch in Viewfort and come back to go back to work. So, I mean, is that so far-fetched? Is that something that people cannot see?
Lack of vision.
I mean, and look at it. All the revenue had been identified to do everything that we were doing. There were no more tax burdens we were putting on the people of St. Lucia. In fact, the only government that was reducing price and reducing taxes was the UWP government. We reduced VAT from 15 to 12 and a half. We reduced the license fees. I mean, look at it.
The St. Lucian people can appreciate some reductions right now. You know, in electricity, in food, in gas, it will go a very long way. And instead, we see a steady increase in everything on the island. But yet we blame the world market, what's going on in the world. And I believe government can do much more. Let me just show you, Mr. Guy, something, not to disturb you.
Wow.
But I just saw something there of $1.2 million that the NIC is going to give to Soufriere to build a park. Is that real? Or that was last year?
And no, I don't know about
NIC
that.
to
But why
give
would they would give a loan.
a loan to
Is
build
it
a
a
park.
loan or a grant?
I don't know because I just jotted out something here. I see 1.2 million NIC to give to Emma Hippolyte to build a a park.
But that is madness. And I see cannot take people's pension money and give grants. So
That's what I
because
saw there.
I think there's something amiss there. I don't want to make a judgment call on
Yeah,
that.
unless you see the article for yourself.
Unless I can verify.
That's right.
Although with Labour Party in office, you cannot put anything past these people.
Yeah, look at the port.
No, no. I can tell you, I have come to learn what to expect from them. So I want to be able to say to all of us St. Lucians who have an interest in St. Lucia, we need to open our eyes. We need to look at what is happening. And I'm telling you, you see that vision that UWP and Alan Shastney had, because this is a revised plan of what Sir John had presented in 2007. It was tweaked, it was adjusted, some components of it was used, some aspects of it. It is still possible to happen for St. Lucia.
Good, I like
We
that.
still have the opportunity to be able to do some of the things that are there. I know it's going to be hard to get investors to come back to St.
Right.
Lucia given the attacks that they have had to suffer on what the Labour Party has done. But I am hoping that good sense will prevail, that the Labour Party will apologize and say something that this is not the stance of the Labour Party government. Although I see Hill out there praising what is happening in the tourism industry. I don't know who the tourists are. The tourists must be invisible people because they can't be white people. Because if you don't want white people in your country, why are you praising
Right, and now
what they are doing?
you were saying that investors have confidence in St. Lucia under your administration, but you curse off every white investor in the world, and now you're embracing them. But let me ask you, there was a question that I wanted to ask you concerning some monies that was allocated for housing. I think it was 30 million or whatever it was, and we have
10
not heard
million.
anything about that. I know I can say to you that I saw two houses in Dennery, sheds in Dennery, and one or two around the place. But
No, but these houses in Denry were not for people.
well, they were not for they were for the poorest of the poor. So I'm not even sure what that
Yeah,
is
they
either.
were not for people. According to the Prime Minister, the poorest of the poor are not people. So these houses were not for people.
I guess they were for mosquitoes because, I mean, no bathrooms, and then you say to them, well, you guys should be happy, and the UWP need to shut their mouth. These guys were sleeping on the boat sheds and by the beach, and now they have at least somewhere to stay, so they should be happy with whatever they get. How can a government treat its people like that? Just take what you get?
I'm baffled. It makes sense on one hand to say that they are better off than where they were. That may be so, but is that the standard you want to set?
That's right.
Is that the benchmark for us as a country? But Philip JPN knew very well that this was not the benchmark. You see, Richard did his thing on his own, did some
You think
nonsense.
so?
Yeah, man, it's unfortunate that Philip JPA had to find a word to describe that. And that's why he got jammed. Because Philip JPA, I believe himself was saying, but look, you all can be serious that these houses are for people. Because look at his statement, for people. So in Pierre's mind, these houses could not be for people.
Those are state of the art, like St. Jude.
But it tells you, I've said that Labour Party will not do anything good, and the evidence is there. What did they tell us? Didn't they say that before the anniversary they would start a 10-story building in cul-de-sac?
Oh yeah, there's sorry.
Now let me tell you what had happened with that $10 million. It was $4 million, part of the loan that we had negotiated from the Taiwanese. 4 million US was given to the Ministry of Education, and 4 million was given to the Ministry of Housing. Now, when you have limited resources, you have to be mindful how you spend it. So what we were in the process of doing, Garfield, is we were buying we were buying 16 acres of land at Mount Pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to build some condo style apartments there. I don't want to say CDCs because it was not CDCs. And I can I should be able to get some of the architectural designs and the 3D drawings of what we had done already. So the plan was very advanced. The property was in receivership. We were in negotiations. We had to pay $1 million upfront on the property, and then the rest would be given in government bonds to the receivers for on behalf of the family. So that was negotiated. That was in play. So what we would have done was we would have invested the first 4 million US, which is 10 million EC, into the first block of apartments. And we would do a lease to own with the people. And we were trying to vacate some of the CDCs in Castries.
Right.
So what we were going to do is the people who really had nowhere else to go, we would have relocated them to that area, and we would have had to revise the rent rates, but whatever they were paying would be equity in the building for themselves. And then what would have happened is that we would begin to knock down. So if you look at the ones from the town hall on, I think it is High Street there. Is it High Street where the electoral office is? I think it may be High Street. That street, we were going to clear the block of buildings there, because these buildings are liability to government and to the city. So we would knock down this first set of buildings, and the ground floor would all be commercial. So all of our commercial shops that are presently on Jeremy Street, we would relocate them to that area. And then we would knock down because these businesses, you can't relocate them. That is what the people have been doing for their living.
Yeah.
So you want to keep them in proximity
That's
to
right.
where they have practiced their trade over the years. And then we would have been able to clear, by then we would have completed the rest of the buildings at Mount Pleasant. What we were doing at Shock Development, we were looking at putting 100 apartments also at Shock in the development there. So we would have had enough housing to accommodate the people who were there. And then we would be able to knock down all of these buildings of the CDCs and put proper buildings where tenants would be able to come back there eventually.
Yeah. 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 Wow. Wow.
So, I mean, the plans were there. So this $10 million was not spent. And I know I took some flack from it, from my own colleagues saying to me that, look here, you all had this money there and you all didn't spend it. And look, Labour Party came in and they spent it. You see, when you borrow money, you have to make that money work. You cannot just go and spend it anyhow.
So
and
that's
then
money
you
they
still
found there. That's money that was already sitting there.
Yes, the money was there. The money was available.
I thought they said they
But the
found nothing.
money, that's what they keep on making people believe. But up to now, have they given an account as to how the money was spent? No.
No, I heard that. I heard the program was suspended or something because of some problems. I don't know. You heard nothing about it?
Garfield, I have always been more careful about how I spend people's money than how I spend mine. You see, my money, I spend it how I want, how I feel, because I've worked for it and I've earned it.
Yeah.
But you see, when it comes to the country's resources, and that is why I want them to do all their investigations. Why have they gone so quiet on Guy Joseph all of a sudden?
Well, I was wondering, maybe by tomorrow, they will come, to ask you for their money that both you and Shastney, they said, stole. I mean, you
You know,
have
and Garfield, you had intelligent people saying these things, you know. People, well, I don't know you can class them as intelligent,
intelligent.
but they are supposed to be. They are looked upon in the society as
Society.
intelligent people. And they tell you, oh, these fellas took all the treasury. How can you get money from the treasury?
So,
I mean, they accuse me of all this that, and they wrote to Fresh Start to ask for permission to go and work on the old St. Jude because the site is still under the possession of Fresh Start. You believe that if Fresh Start belonged to me, they would get permission to go there? But you
it's a
see,
shame.
out of convenience, Garfield, you know what I want you to do? One of these days on your show, take a few pictures of some hospitals in the US.
Oh, you know what? That's a
What they
good
call a
idea.
glorified pack or box,
You know what?
and post it up.
I am very close to Long Island, so because I'm not in Brooklyn, so there's some up there that I need to. I will do that. I'm talking about that. I was just actually getting my camera together. This piece that I have here, and I was saying, look, I need to get some pictures. You. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do
You,
it.
you know,
Folks, you can call, folks, don't be afraid to call 929-586-1821. Call, all right?
it's just crazy what this Labour Party is doing. And I want to appeal to the people of St. Lucia. I want to applaud all those who came out and really supported the protests. I
Yeah.
think we need to intensify our efforts. I'm out of, and that is the only reason why I was not at that protest. And Garfield, imagine I'm here in the US, I'm speaking to you, and they still say I cannot come to the
Well,
US.
the FBI might be calling me to get your address. Somebody's calling. Calling you on the Caribbean American News Network.
Good evening, Brother Garfield, and good evening, Brother Guy Joseph. How you guys doing?
We're doing well.
We're good. We having fun
Hello.
here, providing information, clarity to the public.
All right. Good show as usual. I want to ask my brother Guy Joseph a question. Brother Guy Joseph, you remember the St. Lucia Labour Party government spent $3 million to Bob Lindquist to investigate you. Remember that?
Yep.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. And the report is in a
And,
vault
and to date,
that the cabinet
they spent
secretary
that
has.
$3 million, and we don't
So,
have,
so
we don't
Hold a
know the
minute.
content.
Hold a minute, caller. He's talking. Go ahead.
I'm saying to you
Can you hear
that
him?
they have it on a thumb drive and they have it in a vault in the office of the
Hello?
cabinet
Oh,
secretary.
he seems not to be
I
hearing.
want them to make it available to the public.
Can you
The
hear?
report, the
Hello?
report from Robert Lindquist, the $3 million
I'm here.
report
Can you hear
is on
Mr.
a
Guy?
thumb
Hold Mr.
drive.
Guy. They're not hearing us. Let's try to get that. Are you hearing him? Caller, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Are you hearing me?
I can hear you.
Hearing Mr. Joseph?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
So I was saying
asking
that
I was asking
the
my brother Guy
report
Joseph
is
about
there.
the fact
They
that the
have it
Labour
on a
Party
thumb drive, and
spent
they
$3 million
also have a hard
in to
copy
invest.
in a vault inside the cabinet secretary's office. So Philip J. Pierre has full access to the report. Why don't he release the report to the reporters in St. Lucia? Make it available to all the news networks in St. Lucia of the $3 million Robert Lindquist report.
Caller, he's responding to you.
Yeah, so I want to hear his response to that, and I'll ask a follow-up question.
Well, he just did. You did not hear him?
No, I did not hear his answer. Sorry.
Wait a minute, something is wrong with our system. Something, my setting is perfect here. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, and the next question is, with regards to the fuel prices, the gas prices, all over the world, as you know, Brother Garfield, gas prices went down on the world market, the price of gas at the pump. Just a few weeks ago, or maybe about a week and a half ago, St. Vincent and the Grenadines brought down the gas at the pump. St. Lucia is the only country in the OECS that refuses to bring down the gas. When like I said, the price of gas went down dramatically on the world market. And when the Prime Minister, when Philip J. was questioned by the press, the media, as to his reason why he refuses to drop down the price of gas at the pump, he said he has not met his quota yet. I want Brother Guy Joseph take on that. So these are the two questions, but good show as usual, my brothers, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joseph?
Well, first of all, I don't believe what the Prime Minister said, because I would expect the Prime Minister to give what the quota was. Because if you're going to tell me that the reason why you cannot drop the price is because you have not met your quota, then you could simply go and show us in the budget how much money was projected to be collected from fuel.
Hello?
And how much you have collected.
Caller, you on the air.
And we would know
Yes,
by
hello,
what
Brother
time.
Garfield, how are you?
Hold a minute. Hold on.
We would know by what time we would be able to say, okay, from then on we don't have to pay more for gas. Gas
Can't hear
would be
Mr. Guy, Brother Garfield.
duty free.
Okay. All right. Can you hear him now?
Are you hearing me?
Anyways, I'll ask my question and I'll listen offline.
Oh, they will listen.
If
So
I-
go
if I
ahead,
can.
Mr. Guy. This is a question
Yeah.
for you. Go ahead. Can you hear him?
Yes,
Oh,
I can
you
hear
now.
him.
Yeah.
Good.
So I want to ask you about, because there's a few years ago, I can't remember exactly what year, but you probably will have remembered that there was a German company that came into St. Lucia, and they were proposing to have some solar panel, and I think Brother Gaffney, you
Solar
were talking
panel or
about that
wind
yesterday about
turbines?
solar panel.
Isn't it
but I
wind
couldn't
turbines they were
actually talk on
looking
that.
at?
So I want to ask, what happened that this didn't go through? Because I remember clearly, I was one of those that installed solar panel. I think it was on the market opposite the craft market there. There was some solar panel installed there, and there was also some solar panel installed. I think it was on a Pigeon Point, somewhere around there. And the company basically, they wanted to have those solar panels installed on government buildings first, and see how much of a reduction electricity bill would be. But maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit more, as to, because I don't really know what really happened. But all I know is the deal. We never continued that thing, and I wasn't the owner of the company running the project, so I wouldn't know much more about it. But maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that for us, please. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Joseph.
I would not know all of the details of that, because a number of times there have been pilot projects that was undertaken to try out solar panels. I know that my recollection of the German company was more with the wind turbines they were looking at. And I think the owner of the company died in a plane crash, to my recollection. But yes, there was times when there were certain solar panels, but the only major solar panel project that happened, to my recollection, was the one that was funded by the Clinton Foundation, and that's approaching the Huronura International Airport, you have that solar farm there where I think it's a 3 megawatt solar farm. But other than that, I had spoken to a German gentleman who wanted to do something with the spillover of the water from the Roseau Dam to be able to use it. But a lot of these people would have come to St. Lucia, tried out pilot projects, but the like they say, the devil is in the details. So you would have to go into the nitty gritty of it to see why St. Lucia would not have gone into certain of these projects. And remember that our biggest challenge over the years have been the protection granted to Lucilec as the only generating company in St. Lucia for commercial electricity.
Wow.
So, and that is until 2046.
2046.
Until 2046. So no other person can generate electricity to be sold. So that is why we have been at loggerheads. I was always at loggerheads with Lucilec because I always feel that the price of electricity in St. Lucia is way above what it should be. The way they go about calculating the fuel surcharge, nobody can fully understand because they give you all kinds of complications about this thing. So there are issues. I don't believe that the price of electricity needs to be so high.
Wow.
But my understanding is the agreement with Lucilec guarantees them a 15% return on investment. So, Garfield, 15% of $100 is 15. 15% of $200 is 30. It's the same 15%. So the higher the cost of the operations of Lucilec is, the more profit the company makes.
Yeah. Calling you on the air. Wow.
Good afternoon. Good evening, Garfield. Good evening, Mr. Joseph.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I don't know if you can. I can't hear you too well, so
Yeah, we hear you.
I can hear you
Yes, we're
very
hearing
well.
you clear.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Joseph. A very important subject that I think the world has to know about that happened in St. Lucia is regards broadcasting and attacks made on the UWP. Over the years, over the 9 years before the elections, a particular minister, Richard Frederick, boasted how he attacked the leader of the opposition, Mr. Alan Chastney, for 9 years, bragged about it, and the Labour Party enjoyed the several personnel in the broadcast media attacking the United Workers' Party one way or another, and particularly to the leader of the opposition, Alan Chastney. But the reason I'm calling here now, because it bugs me when you had a minister who was in the UWP, who is now on the other side via a so-called blue wave, has gone and withdrawn a license or refused to issue a license to the single station that was pro-UWP. And he has refused to issue the license to Sky FM for all kind of reasons, including attacking the chairman, myself, conflict of interest, which was not really the thing he should have done. Upon the advice of ECTEL, the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Board, they advised that Sky should be issued a license. And this is a grave thing because, it shows how the SLP, and particularly the Minister Stephenson King, to beef up his position of joining the SLP, has caused a muzzling of the voice of the people in St. Lucia. Whereas for more than 9 years, one of their ministers, Richard Frederick, was able to be on the air night after night and still on the air, attacking Alan Chastney and the UWP. This is a major concern to me because my life is in broadcasting, and I think this is an unfairness to the people of St. Lucia. And I think it's something that you should talk about, and every person should talk about, especially when it comes. You have to go to an American news network to give information to St. Lucians via Garfield's production. And whereas the government of St. Lucia, in this democratic world that we live in, is trying to muzzle St. Lucians for talking, when they have all the stations, they've even employed some of the very people into government that have shady backgrounds, and they boast and they attack Alan Chasney, they attack the UWP, but they deprive the St. Lucians to have a voice in St. Lucia on the air, except when it suits them. Thank you very much, sir. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Thank you so much for calling. Wow. Mr.
Yes,
Guy,
I understand when people are in positions of authority, they use their authority. But I always tell them there's a greater authority than all our authority. And everything we do is for a time. Garfield, as a Bible man, you would know when Nebuchadnezzar thought that he was in charge of everything, God sent him to eat grass for 7 years.
yeah. Oh, yes.
Until he came to his senses. So those who are in authority, and that's what I always say, our authority is for a period of time. And only God gives ultimate authority to people. So
That's right.
Hello?
he is right, Mr. Ellis is right
Yes,
in
caller,
what
just
he's
hold a
saying.
minute,
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Guy, hold that thought because I really want to get back on the Sky FM licensing situation because I did interview Mr. The minister who's responsible now.
King,
He just switched from UWP to
Minister King,
Mr. King, and he said to me that they never took away any license from them. They did not have one. And you know that there's an application there. They're looking at it. And that was I have it recorded from his town hall meeting here in New York. We have a beautiful caller, my spiritual mother. Caller, you on the air.
Good evening, my son, and good evening, Mr. Joseph. I'm just listening to you all, and I heard you. I just wanted to say, although I wrote it in the chat, but I just would like all your listeners and people to visualize. And I want Mr. Joseph I thought about it, not me, but a long time ago, many years ago, I heard someone make this suggestion that, and it really captured me and has helped me to show forth the development of the city. When I look at where the CDCs are coming from, you're taking all those CDCs behind the ones that have the stores, but going right up to past where the town hall is. That whole area going right down, in my view, and I agree with the person who made that suggestion many, many years ago, and I can't remember, should have been broken down and have a central bus terminal. Like you go to a train station, and the train station is central place, a central bus terminal, instead of having all those little places of buses here and there and everywhere throughout the city. But something so well central and developed with, and around it, would have had all the stores and so on. Just visualize that and look at the thing. I mean, CDCs were not meant to be permanent. They came up after the fire. They should have been removed. And I agree with the Mount Pleasant thing because, the problem with not developing the city and moving those old CDCs was because it didn't have nothing to do with poor people. That's crap because a lot of, and if people are being honest, and I mean Mr. Joseph knows, a lot of those people who are renting the CDCs, they have houses that they have built and they're renting. I know that, and if people cannot afford and you built out of the city because they're thinking of vote for Central Cat Street. That's the problem. It doesn't matter which party that they have to think of the vote for Central Cat Street. They're putting the people in Mount Pleasant and around there, building apartment buildings there for them. Okay, but then the city would have been developed and moved from the way it has been that I am going to die and I will never see the city change from what I grew up in it as a child, apart from seeing those government buildings on the waterfront. You know, and I cannot and every time a government comes in, all they think about is the vote instead of actually taking the bull by the horn because fearful that they would lose their votes. You don't need apartment buildings in the heart of a city in a small country like that. You need to develop your city and to make it viable. And the people could have lived on the outskirts of the city central. Now, that's just one thing, just statement I wanted to make on that. That's just my view. So I don't kill me. That's my view. That's how I see it. That's how I visualize it. I would love to see that one day, though I doubt I ever will. Now, the other thing I wanted to say, Mr. Joseph, I am so sick and tired, so fed up with the rhetoric, the lame story. I don't even know why it keeps coming up. They keep going, Mr. Joseph is corrupt, he's this, he's that, he's that. It's a whole lot of talk, and it just shows me that when people are saying that our people in this country, 80% of them are below any kind of real level of education, that you mean to tell me that you can drink a rhetoric and that has never been proven on any kind of level. How many times have I heard Mr. Joseph say, prove it, bring forth the evidence, take me to court, put it there.
And they did.
We're still discussing that rhetoric.
They went to court.
We still discussing that. Come on, why are you still even taking that, calling him a volley, a bobble, and this and that? Would you all like that happening to yourself and no evidence? And you know what hurts me?
It's a shame.
The so-called 20% of intelligent people are also repeating that rhetoric.
But the folks who, sorry, Doc,
corrupt.
sorry, Mom, but the persons who are making those allegations, they are in government. They have all documents that are needed. Nobody got to leak anything to them. You understand? They have the reports, they study. Just present the facts to the people. Where's your evidence?
No, but nobody, but what I'm saying, that is my point. No, it's not today, it's not a month, it's not a year, it's years they're saying that rhetoric, and nobody has been able to come forward, if anything, and take the little Indian from the reservation and put him in jail. It has never happened.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything, but they keep going on the Indian. It's just like the foolishness of Alan Shastney. Take a guy, Joseph, put him in India, the Indians don't want him. Take Alan Shastney, drop him in Central Caucasian country, and they don't want him because Alan Shastney's blood is tainted. They have black in him. But we are drinking the thing of white man in a country that is a kubuyo of mixed race. That's what we are.
Yeah.
Slaves are only we in the Caribbean are not accepted in Africa, although many of us may favor the skin tone of the African, but because we are mixed, I have gone to do most of my education in Europe and studied with a lot of Africans who would have me plain blank and tell me, you're not African, and I had to answer them and tell them, so who tell you I want to be African? When every time I think of my own people betraying they betrayed me and make me what I am today. The mix up that I am. We are mixed up with Indian, native Indian, Caucasian, and African. That's what we are.
Yeah.
But the rhetoric has been pushing out there, and then the people are drinking. And I said, even when we were at the match, one young woman from Stand Up Alone person, tell the white man go back. Tell the white man go back. I mean, honestly, we're still on this thing instead of dealing with issues. And that's the problem in this country. When they cannot attack you on issues, deal with the facts, they cannot defend the indefensible, they start with mepri, with no things, with no truth, no nothing.
Right.
And that is why, and like those who are attacking you and saying you're not a Christian, and Guy Joseph, they're forgetting that in the Labour Party, their Labour Party supporters, there are so-called Christians, strong Christians. Ubaldas was a Seventh-day Adventist, or is a Seventh-day Adventist, and so is Minister, what's his name now? That take over, Joachim Henry.
And both of them have major transgressions, right?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, these people, if they were real Christians and they knew the word of God, they would have known that throughout, from the judges and all the kings and everything, these were people who govern and govern. People who govern people are politicians. They're politicians. When you put them there, when they elected and they put them there, so God has always had Daniel, Joseph, you go on, and Moses, all of them have been Christians. But if we had more Christians, real Christians in governance in this country, we would have been in a better position. And I hope the day will come when I will see more Christians, real, born-again, blood-washed Christians, become politicians. When they come with that foolishness about saying that, but they sit down doing all kinds of necromancy behind the things and they calling themselves Christians, let them come with their foolishness. You put them in their places, and then when they start opening their mouth, you plead the blood of Jesus and tell them when they go to sleep, I hope they get up tonight and they don't get a stroke in the morning, that they're not on a side because they think they have the power to speak and say what they want. That's why I don't call people names. I don't give people names. I don't want to know these things. You talk about the cat and I will discuss the cat with you. I hate what you say, but I don't hate people. So when they come with these things and attacking you and guy on your Christianity, that kind of things are not Christians. And the people who call themselves Christians doing that, they are not Christians. They don't know God. They're far.
Yeah, but
whoever God they're serving, it is not the Jehovah God. Because if they knew the word of God and hold the Bible as they think, and that same God they call, that same Bible, is going to put them on a side.
Well, the only Christians, Doc, the only Christians that you have in politics are on the SLP side, but once they are UWP Christians, then they're no Christians, and that's the hypocrisy in the society.
Same religion. Even if they're in the same religion, these people are not thinking when they are so zealous about politics and the things they do. They're not thinking that the God they mentioned in his mouth, he will not be mocked. He's not in Papi Show. They may not get up next morning. When they go outside, they don't know what will happen to them. And if it doesn't fall on them, it falls on their children, their family. That's how they bring curse on themselves. Yeah. Hit Garfield. Talk to Garfield about what he's saying. Hit Guy Joseph on the politics he's talking about, his philosophy. Yeah. But leave the thing about God out of your business. Yeah. The Papi Show, you saying that God ain't in nonsense. God is not going to play with you.
He's not mocked.
I warn them. I tell them already, stop it. Because God is going to deal with them. And every time they open their mouth, God said, you need to not say, brother, my friend, my brother. You hit them back with the word and let them know that God is going to deal with them. When they go to sleep, they should be afraid. Afraid a stroke don't take them. Afraid they don't die because they don't care. Open their minds to the fact that there's a real living God who is listening to every word that's coming out of their mouth. But I'm saying to you, I'm so fed up that our country and our people are not dealing with what is actually going on. Talk about gas prices. Talk about the economy. Talk about what's going on. Talk about that. Say your point of view and discuss somebody else's point of view. Heat it, criticize it. But stop the nonsense that is going on that we call, it's destroying our country with social media. The world is looking at us and we're becoming a laughing stock. Stop it. Let us just discuss issues and discuss what's going on. Hit the man. Tell the man what you're saying. Right. Because that is the fact. And that is what gets me fed up. And that is why I tell you, I don't know how Guy Joseph and Alan Chastity have stood up and taken this and be that strong. I tell people already, you see me, yes, I'm a Christian and my life shows it. But I am not Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ, look at the so-called ones that call themselves Christians. He called them a bunch of bloody hypocrites. And when he walked in his father's house and he saw them doing nonsense, he mashed it up. And he's the Son of God. I am a failed sinner, human being trying to be living like God. You come and step with me and interfere with me, I'll mash your head. And don't tell me nothing about I'm supposed to be a Christian. Don't come to me with what I am discussing. Talk about it, but don't come and tell me stupidness because I will step on you. I will not sin, but I will have righteous anger. And I'm telling Guy and Alex, it's time to put these people in their place and stop taking the nonsense from them. Let us deal with what is happening in this country. Let us bring decency and integrity back into our politics than the foolishness that we are teaching our young people. That is why the country is such a mess, because young people don't see no kind of integrity and respect at the top of our leaders. I have righteous anger, and they better just leave me alone.
And leave your son alone.
Eating night.
Yes, and leave your
You
new
better just
son
leave me alone.
and your
Yeah,
son. Yeah,
because this is,
yes,
somebody must be able to
that's
stand up.
right.
Anyway, guys, you hold in there. And guys, Alan, I have been known to be I have been dubbed a guard dog. Well, let me tell you something. The baddest guard dog you can think of, I am one, and no kind of muscle can hold me. So you guys just hold on and sit on. Good night, son. Be blessed.
All right, Mom. Have a beautiful night. Guy, you want to say anything? You want to say something?
No, what I want to say, Garfield, in relation to this, it's not easy. I think it has been harder for my family than it has been for me. I can deal with that. I grew up in a tough environment. Life was not easy. I've worked hard. It is sad that, St. Lucians who go out, I've never been involved in drugs, never been involved in criminal activity, never been involved in anything corrupt. I can show them my track record of work and all the things I've done over the years to achieve what I have achieved. And people who don't know me from anywhere, and as our caller said, even church people. And you know what I say to some church people who belong to my own faith, the Seventh Day Adventist Church?
Yep.
Before you make it to heaven, you will have to come and ask me for forgiveness for all the lies you have repeated about me. That is why, if you follow my trend tonight, Garfield, I speak about the incompetencies, the
Yeah.
bad decisions that the government makes, the inability to govern
Yeah.
from all what we are seeing. I don't go after persons. I don't go after an individual to say, I'm going to attack that individual. You know, I've always said, and maybe God knows why, my wife always asks me, do you pray that God is going to vindicate you? And I do that, Garfield.
And he will.
I leave things to God. If I do it, I'll not do it as good as God will do it.
Yeah.
So and I can safely say to you as Pastor Garfield that I was really let down by the church in the handling of this whole matter.
Yeah.
But you know what? With the situation that happened at the church, I had the option of going to the court. I know that's not what my church stands for.
Yeah.
There was an intervention by the pastors. A committee was put into place to deal with that. My wife and myself, we attended all the meetings. We did everything that we were asked to do. And then they just dropped the ball. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened after.
Nobody has had the courtesy to even tell me this is the outcome and this is what happened and this is nothing that was promised to happen never happened.
Sad.
But you know what? You deal with humans, and once you deal with human beings, there will be shortcomings. Things will not go the way, but nothing misses the eye of God.
Amen.
And justice only comes from Him. It's it's not my area of weakness. I've never been corrupt in my life. I've never been tempted to steal. There's nothing St. Lucia have or anywhere else I've been in the world where I want to steal. I cannot cheat on an exam, not even to get a good score.
Yeah. I have a call
That's
coming
not
in.
in my nature. I don't stage things. I don't pay people to go and write songs for me. I don't pay news reporters to say good things about me. That's not my style.
Yeah.
I don't operate that way. I
Wow.
want everything to be fair and just in how it happens. So, you know, when I came into politics, I always said I wanted to be different. They say once you go into politics, you have to become
You have to
corrupt
become
and this and that.
But we have a
And
call.
I
Hold that
want,
thought.
yeah.
Call you on the air. Caller, you on the air. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, Caribbean American News Network.
Good evening, good night, Brother Garfield and Mr. Guy, the right guy.
The right guy. Yes. Oh, my
I
friend, I just
I
got the
hope you guys
voice.
are doing good.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I have a question, a couple remarks and a question to ask. I've been looking at the comments tonight, and I realized that there are particular St. Lucians who live in the U.S. who are living in a first world country where they can get support from the government, support for healthcare. You have food banks. You've got all sorts of support for persons living in the U.S. In St. Lucia, we have become poor. The SLP government has created more poverty in this country since they came into office. And we have people saying that they don't want St. Lucia to become a little Miami, and they don't want this, and St. Lucia is going to become a concrete jungle. I need to say to these people, St. Lucia can never become a concrete jungle. One, we have forests, and we have farms, and we have lots of land, and we need the development so we can create employment for the persons that were made unemployed under the SLP government when they got into governance this time around. They have not done anything to enhance the lives of St. Lucians. However, those persons sitting in the diaspora that feel they can come and make those statements, hold off. We live in St. Lucia. We are the ones feeling the pinch. I hope this person saw the flooding that happened. And Mr. Guy, you know who's speaking? I know you know who's speaking. Thank you. You did a wonderful job. You did a wonderful job with reference to desilting. Well, you're a worker, but I'm talking about if you were there, what happened in St. Lucia on Sunday would have never happened.
Wow.
Are you guys there?
Yes, we're here. We're listening.
Yes, we are.
So when we're looking at people having great losses because of floods that could have been mitigated, the excuses given by this government, the pots being sold, and I say sold because 40 years is not, to me, it's not a lease, it's selling our port.
Yeah.
People, they created unemployment for people. Stop the projects that would have helped St. Lucia to develop. Going the totally opposite direction. I need to caution the St. Lucians in the diaspora who feel that you can sit in the U.S. and not feel the brunt of what St. Lucians are going through right now and make your silly comments. Stop. Stop. We do not need it. If you want to support St. Lucians, come to St. Lucia and see what we're feeling down here. Then you can open your mouths and make those statements. And with that, Brother Garfield
Yes, my
and
friend.
Mr. Guy, I'm going to say good night and continue listening to the program.
And I miss your voice. You need to call more often, my friend. I felt abandoned by you for a while.
I will call. I will call. There are discussions we need to have, so I will call you.
Yes, my friend. And I'll see you in St. Lucia shortly. Mr. Guy, thank you, caller.
Definitely.
Yes, Garfield,
Definitely.
what I
Not a
want to
problem.
say, what I want to say to our caller, the caller who just called there, is that once you are affiliated to the Labour Party, it has a psychological impact on your thinking. Your thinking is blurred. Your sense of reasoning is affected. So whether they live in the US, they live in the UK, they live in Canada, anybody who is supporting the Labour Party, that is what you will get from them. It's like a disease. It's like something that I don't know if it's a demon or some spirit from hell that if you get affiliated to the Labour Party, because to me, all common sense goes, and some of these people are well educated.
Yes.
They are supposed to be knowledgeable. And to tell me you cannot decipher basic right from wrong, you cannot see that the Labour Party is taking you for a ride. All the things the Labour Party said about Richard Frederick not being in government, not being able to be this because he didn't have a US visa, now has circumvented the system to get him to a meeting in the UN, and up to now he cannot come back to the US yet. What has happened? And then people want to defend these things. How do you defend that? So that is the problem that we are having. So, caller, it's not where they live in the world. It's not what university they go to. It is their affiliation to the Labour Party that blights their ability. They are blighted. Once it brings a blight, as they would say in the past, you're not epidemic. They say
Thank you. You're the air caller. Go ahead. Thanks for holding.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Garfield and guys. How are you guys doing today? Tonight, rather.
Well, tonight we're blessed.
Okay, just a question I had for Mr. Joseph. Based on what he said on the way the church matter was handled, I'm hearing like Mr. Joachim like taking the Prime Minister to court. And I believe it has to do with what he said that the opposition leader, what he said that he carried to the church.
Yeah.
So I'm saying to Mr. Joseph, the present Prime Minister was on Andrew Paul's show, and he said that he has a recording of what guys was saying about Joachim who lost his son. We all understand it was a sad time for the family, but if the church took a decision and then Mr. Joseph now already forgiving Joachim, and Joachim now going to take Shashney to court. Shouldn't Guy Joseph feel obligated to have the Prime Minister release whatever tip that he said to Andrew that he have on his phone? I think we have to go ahead and
are you able to hear me, caller?
Yeah, he's going to listen.
Is the caller able to hear me?
He's gone, but he said he will listen off here. He's going to listen.
Okay, so first of all, I want to tell you, Philip J. Pierre is a liar. There's no tape with Guy Joseph on it. Guy Joseph is not a madman.
They would have used that in the campaign, Mr. Joseph.
And if Philip J. Pierre had a tape on Guy Joseph, Philip J. Pierre, just as he says, you see the same way he said the houses were not for people? It's for the poorest of the poor. Philip J. Pierre will say any nonsense to get himself out of a situation, because that is the level at which he puts St. Lucians. Now, on that matter, I have already told the Prime Minister I will be his first witness on the witness stand. So I am looking forward to that case, because where the church dropped the ball in not dealing with the matter, we will have the opportunity to deal with it in court again.
Wow.
So I am looking forward to it, and there are other persons from the church who will testify. Because you cannot do your thing. You got away with it. For whatever reason, God knows best. You got away with it. And you want to take somebody to court over something. You are the one who came and invaded the church, not Alan Shasney. And I never said a word about you, and you know that. I defended you when your name came up. And that's why I say, Garfield, some things we have to leave for God to deal with.
Yeah.
Because when God deals with these people for what they have done, for desecrating his place of worship, for making up lies. And even with the recording of what is there and what was played for the whole world to hear, the version, what was posted on social media by the operatives of the Labour Party was very different. So truth means nothing to these people. You think I ever believe one day they will say, the only day they'll say Guy was an honest person is if I go and join the Labour Party, and that's not going to happen. So I don't ever expect that I will get fair treatment from the Labour Party. But they can never make me a thief, Garfield. They can, and that's why I can walk with my head high anytime. I've never been afraid of the investigations. Because for the people of St. Lucia, and I say that more for those of us who call ourselves Christians, that we go and repeat lies and stories about people and we say things about people. You cannot go and ask God for forgiveness if the person you have wronged, you have not gone to them.
That's right.
You first go to the person you have wronged and then you go to God. So don't think that God will forgive you for any lies you say about me and you have not tried to go back and undo the damage that you have done. In fact, the Bible principle is if I stole your pickaxe, or if I stole your pickaxe and I went and I planted some dashing with it, and during that time you did not have your pickaxe, whatever profits I made from when I return your pickaxe for you, I have to return it with the profits that I made from it.
Yeah.
You see, we can't be Christians conveniently, That's why I don't go about making up stories about people. That's why, Garfield, when I come on a program, if I cannot substantiate something, I do not say it. And if I say something and tomorrow it is pointed out to me that that information you gave there is inaccurate, I will gladly apologize for it.
All right.
But people don't like honesty. And my biggest problem in politics have been my level of honesty. Maybe if I was corrupt and crooked like other people, I would not face so much challenges. But you see, the devil has his way of trying to box you into a corner where you get accused of things. And if you're accused of it already, then you say, well, boy, whether I didn't do it, they say I do it, so I can as well do it.
Well, Mr. Lawyer said he has some documents on you trying to bribe him.
Who?
You know who your friend Richard said that. He has some he wants to submit to the public prosecutor something on you. You try to bribe him. He said it in the house.
You don't have to try and bribe Richard. Anybody have to try to bribe Richard? Richard, forget I worked with him in cabinet for 5 years and I knew what he was doing. And if Stephenson King is speaking the truth, he would tell you that when it was brought to his attention as Prime Minister, he was asked to begin investigating all ministries. And I said, you start with my ministry of in communications and works at the time. I went to Minister King as Prime Minister. And I said, this information has been brought to my attention. But if you go and investigate one ministry, it will be as if you are targeting an Indian. So my ministry was getting one of the largest portions of the budget. I said, get the audit department to audit my ministry. The second ministry that was supposed to be audited was that of Ministry of Tourism, because at the time, $50 million was going to the Ministry of Tourism. And then he would do the other ministries to see what was going on. He said, yes, it would be done. We lost elections in 2011. It never happened.
I think Mr. King needs to be investigated himself.
You see, some people, Garfield, go, and I am not making judgment calls on anybody. I know what I know, and these people know what they know. They know that Guy Joseph. How could I be corrupt in government? when Alison Jean was the PS in the Ministry of Economic, in the Ministry of Communications and Works.
Question.
And before him was Ben Emmanuel, who is still the cabinet secretary on the Labour Party.
So if you are corrupt, she is corrupt too.
Because they know very well ministers don't sign contracts, we don't sign deals, we
That's
don't
right.
sign checks, we don't sign agreements. So what is it? We are policy makers. So anybody who understands the basic workings of government would know. And if I issued a contract that was above the price, it would have to go through the chief engineer, and it would have to go through the permanent secretary. So no minister can go and make a bubble by themselves.
Yeah.
They would need all of that. And look at the people that surrounded me when I was in government. And when in the Alan Chasney administration, who are my permanent secretaries? Degazan, Tracy Polius, Alison Gajada, the speakers, the lady affiliated to the speaker that the speaker wanted to put me out of the parliament for. So you look at it, that's why I tell them, I never had a problem working with anybody in government. But we have a bigger problem in St. Lucia, Garfield. You see the attacks by the Labour Party. You see the attacks on you, the attacks on Ian. Think of what the people in St. Lucia themselves, you all the way in the US, and they're ready to attack you. They're ready to go after your job there. I mean, they would give contractors jobs, and they would tell them straight off, if you are flambeau, you cannot get employed.
Yeah, I got some of those calls.
The contractors cannot even employ a flambeau person as a laborer to work for them.
Yeah.
For you to get that job, you have to know who you employed. We never had that. I used to go on project sites when I was in government and see the trucks they're working, still with the Labour Party stickers on them. And I would just look at it and smile. Yeah. Every St. Lucian has a right to support whichever political party they want to.
Yeah. And still be able
and
to
they have a
work and play.
right to live in their country. They have a right to earn a living in their country, and honest living. And people who, I didn't fire anybody. I hardly transferred anybody from my ministry. I worked for 5 years with Dr. Anthony's niece as the Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Development. So what could be happening there?
Yep. But Mr. Joseph,
whenever the PS was out, it was the DPS who was in charge. But I have things to come, Garfield. I have a lot of information.
But I want to say to you, and I want to thank you for coming on tonight. We spent a long time here, and it's a lot of information, and our folks stayed with us both on YouTube and on this channel. They stayed, which is good. So what I want you to do, I'm going to give you the platform. Anytime you want to come, just send me a text, and I would set it up where you can, you can be there. You can bring a guest. I will set it up where you can do that yourself. Okay. But I want to thank you and your wife, because you're not alone. I'm sure your wife, she's up with you as your technician. And so I want to thank her.
Yes, she is.
And, you have a beautiful wife, you have a beautiful family. And may God continue to bless you as we continue to work.
A very supportive family. Very supportive family.
And I can imagine what she's been through, because I've heard of the whole discussion on school that she was involved in, and you and money and all kind of foolishness that you hear out there. So that's all these for another discussion.
I have a wife with a PhD and 2 master's degrees and cannot get a job in St. Lucia.
My God. Just because she's your wife?
That is the level. That is the level of the politics in St. Lucia.
Yeah.
That is what it comes to. Because, and that is why, so the attacks you see on Alan Shastney is not far-fetched. If they could destroy all of his family, they would have done much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
But I thank God every day that my life is not under the control of a man.
Amen.
If only God permits something to happen, that's the only time it will happen.
Amen.
And I will close by saying I thank the people all over who have been praying for us in the United Workers' Party, praying for the political leader, myself, and all other persons affiliated, praying for people like you, Garfield, because it takes a lot for you to do what you are doing there. And
some
the
church
level of
leaders in St. Lucia said to me, I'll be an embarrassment to Adventism. Yeah, so it's a
Wow.
lot.
I know that.
It's a lot. Yeah,
I take my fair share, so I understand.
yeah, but
But have a good night, and good night to all your listeners and viewers.
thank you so much, Mr. Joseph. I really appreciate you being here, and say hi to your wife for me. May God bless you. And the platform is yours. It's yours.
Thank you.
Use it whenever you want. So, folks, may God bless you and keep you. May He cause His face to shine upon every one of you. Give you peace as you sleep tonight in Jesus' name. Have a beautiful night, folks. Enjoy the elections. It's still going on. The Senate, it's 41-41. It's tight, all right? So blessings, folks. Thank you, Mr. Joseph.